to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down Infamous.
Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forum.
This is Parker. Go by Tweak on forums.
This is Jeremy. I still refuse to. The internet isn't real.
I thought you were on OnlyFans, though.
I canceled that. I was my only.
did you?
I was my only fan on OnlyFans.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm not going to pay $3.99 to sub you. So anyway, let's talk announcements. Parker, your probation continues.
Yep.
Moving on, we have the
news. So we have the Scarlet Witch panel to play, which immediately became less interesting because of our other news, because we got to watch a stream with Scarlet Witch on it. But we'll discuss the panel to play a little bit and kind of lump it together with what we understand based on the podcast.
Real quick, show of hands, who's watched the Battle Report?
0.
Okay, cool.
A lot of people.
Don't
Listen,
narrate the hands showing.
They're in the
We
car.
could have gotten away with them thinking we had watched it.
Oh,
Yeah.
None of us have watched it.
Yeah.
We're totally going to watch it, though.
Yeah. So Scarlet Witch is based upon her panel to play. We know that she is a mystic attacker. She's got a lot of special condition stuff that she can do. Her basic is a strength 6 attack that for each failure in the attack, for every skull, her target suffers from one of the special conditions on her list. And we know from the stream that they are Hex, Bleed, Incinerate, or Poison. So it's a really interesting attack that benefits from skulls instead of specials.
So first, very happy impression. Counter to MODOK. You can't change my skulls to anything else.
Yep. Oh, range 4, by the way. We found out in the report. It's range 4.
It's a 4/6 mystic.
Yeah.
As a builder, which is quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Just if they had only printed that, she's better than Maw. If that's the only thing that was printed on her entire card, better than Maw.
Poor Ma.
Mm-hmm.
Related to her attack, her ability Chosen of Chthon, innate superpower, allows her to add failures to her rolls when attacking, defending, or dodging, which makes me wonder. I'm guessing that'll probably happen after she gets to trigger the Hex, Bleed, or Incinerate. So the skull will trigger one of those, then she can turn it to a success?
No.
Probably not.
No, it's going to calculate successes and then resolve effects.
So she'll lose. Okay, interesting.
Wait, what? What are you talking about?
So skulls inflict the Hex, Bleed, Incinerate, or Poison. But she has another innate superpower that allows her to basically turn skulls as successes, right?
Count as.
She counts skulls. She counts them. She doesn't change the die. It stays a skull.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it just counts as one.
No,
just like the people that get blanks. That you don't change the blanks to a block. They just count as successes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay, I misread that.
It's not his fault, kids. He can't read good.
Yep. I'm going to go to that institute. We know that she's going to have an ability that prevents enemies from removing certain special conditions when they're proximity to her, a la the card for Crystal. Probably something similar to that.
I thought it was just Crystal all the time.
Yeah, kind of.
Is it? I just want to check real quick. Doesn't she do that all the time?
Crystal... Yeah. Oh, wait. I thought Crystal...
No,
Crystal said... I'm sorry. Not Crystal's card. You're right. Crystal's passive because her card lets her let anybody do special effects within a bubble of her. That's right.
Wow, this is the slowest load ever. Okay.
Yeah, her card says if somebody takes damage.
Within 3 may not shake specific effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll likely be something like Crystal. I was thinking like her card, but her card just gives extra special effects out when anybody takes damage near her. They also said the ability to soar above the battlefield, which I really hope is just flight. and not like
I love that they put in more detailed description of having flight
Yeah.
than that she's gonna have Crystal's rule. Like they're just like, has Crystal's rule also the ability to soar above the
the
clouds like a feathery eagle of majesticness. And you're like, what?
Does that
Okay.
just mean fly?
So flight.
yeah.
Yeah, flight.
Yeah.
I hope when they spoil the next wall crawler, it's like the ability to cling to a wall like an insect or some other kind of creature that can walk on walls, all caps.
Yeah.
Like, so wall crawler.
One thing from the stream we also gleaned is that she can throw. It looks to up to size 4 terrain. They couldn't really tell because the stream didn't really specify the size, but she can throw terrain as well.
Just for everyone at home, there is basically a summary someone typed up of all of the stuff going around. And my favorite thing is I misread the original post, and I thought the sentence was, she can make up to size 4 terrain. And I was like, what? She just like, creates terrain? And I was like, holy shit.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
That seems really good. I was like, she's just gonna be like creating size 4 terrain, and Magneto would be throwing it. I'm like, this model is broken.
Yeah. That seems good and stuff.
Well, she has like reality warping magic. I was like, I guess that happens anyway.
So yeah, that's what we know about Scarlet Witch so far.
Very excited.
Can you afford to put her into Brotherhood though, with Magneto, or is she too expensive?
Why could you not?
I'm just saying she's a 5-point and a 6-point. Does that? I don't play characters above 4 points. I'm
I
fine.
can tell you that. I mean, I
play
played
Ghost
Thor and
Rider,
Hulk.
but you play Thor and Hulk. Okay.
Yeah. You can play like Hulk and Doctor Strange. You can play. There's a bunch of expensive combos. Like obviously Black Order works.
It depends on the win condition you're going for.
Yeah.
You can't just jam them in there and be like, I'm kind of going to do some things.
Right. Like, perfect example, my Cabal list is literally fundamentally based around having a 6 and a 5 in the same list. And it works fine. I will say that I think it's a lot easier when it sounds like the two expensive models are going to easily be worth their points. That's going to make it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously Magneto is worth 6. There's no question about that. Then having her, and she looks like she's going to be worth 5. So that I think it'll be pretty easy. And then in the stream as well, they basically spoiled that Pietro is going to be 3 points. And so the 3 of them together will be 14, which is not ridiculous, but it's not cheap either.
So on the note of Pietro, can we move on to Pietro, what we found out about him?
Do it.
Pietro has a move long. Makes sense. He can spend 2 power to move long also. He rerolls 2 defense dice against any physical or energy attacks. He can also do like a trickster type move that Loki does. Whenever he's targeted, he can bounce away if he has power. To make him hard to pin down. And he has a super strike builder attack that has extra effects based on die rolls. Not sure what that means, but
he's gonna have like wild effects and stuff.
We're not sure what it is.
Yeah, because they didn't show the card, and so they're just trying to glean it from what happened when they were rolling dice.
Mm-hmm. So he looks like exactly what we hoped for. Move long, spend power to do more stuff by moving. I really like that he's got a dodgy thing like Loki. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that. I like that he basically has spider senses because he's just moving so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I like these 3 points. I think 3 points is my favorite points in this game. The models always, the models for a 3-point model, they always do something fun, and they're not like broken usually. It's just something cool for 3 points.
Yeah, there's almost always a way to squeeze a random 3-point model into your list, but like when you're starting to put in like random 4-point models, it feels like your list kind of needs to be based around what they do. So it feels like a big tax to just like slam Ronin in a random list where it's like throwing Valkyrie or Punisher in a random list is like encouraged. So and it's weird that it's just arbitrarily 1 more point, and so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it just feels that much worse. Because you're getting to the point where it's like, well, a 4-point model could legitimately be 2 different models, and so you're actually making a hard choice. Where it's like, well, a 3-point model, you could choose a different 3-point model, but you're still locked in at one guy.
I just find the more interesting models are all 3-pointers, really. They just always are very, very interesting.
Excuse me.
Alrighty, so very excited about Quicksilver as well. And then we learned about Mr. Sinister is that he is 4 points.
Mm-hmm. I actually kind of surprises me. He seems like a really stout 4-pointer, but I think he'll be similar to Hela in that way. He's got some cool effects and not.
He gets
Yeah,
DNA. He likes DNA.
Mm-hmm.
We were all expecting him to be 5 points based off of the panel to play, and so the fact that he's only going to be 4 has me both excited and scared.
Ugh, yeah, there's so many 4-pointers that are not great, and there's some that are great. So he could land either way, you know.
There's the ones where they tried to make them do everything, and those models like have failed. And then there's the 4-pointers who are like, that guy's nuts, like Black Panther and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I also like that. I like the idea that at least right now he's kind of factionless. But if they made him really, really strong, you want him on your faction. Like you'll put him in there. I like that idea. That they just make him a little stronger and make him unaffiliated.
I think he's going to be in Brotherhood.
You think so?
I would put money on he's going to be in Brotherhood.
Mm.
You want to make another Hydra wager? You already owe me from last time.
4 pizza rolls.
No, it's one dick kick.
At this point, I'm pretty sure he's going to be in Avengers.
At the rate they're going, Sinister will definitely be in Avengers.
Yeah.
Parker, let's just do a shaved head bet.
I will
Shaved
not do
head
that.
bet.
I will not do that. Somebody tried to get me to do a shaved head bet in college, and I left the room. I was like, "That's it." And they're like, "You don't want to be our friends anymore?" I go, "Nope."
How about just beard shave? You have to shave your face. Clean shave.
Also, no. Nope.
Shave all of your body hair, including your eyebrows.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
I was gonna say, at a certain point, I feel like people would go like, something must be wrong. So I guess we'll he must have. We'll pity him.
Everyone will be nice to me for like 3 weeks if I just shave everything.
Yeah.
Because they'll think I have cancer.
Yeah, clearly I survived chemo, which is a really weird bid for attention. I don't think I should participate in.
Oh my god.
I just pulled up the affiliation list one more time just to make myself mad, just to get the fire in my blood up.
He just keeps looking between where the H should be. He's like, why is there no Hydra faction? I mean, Parker, technically we don't know yet. And as soon as like we open the Sin box, it could have a Hydra affiliation card in it. Technically, we don't know. But we know.
One of the things that here's something they could do, and I would hate this. Maybe? Ooh. What if they give this game eventually like the War Machine, like
Theme Force?
I'm out.
Treatment.
Just saying that word
makes me so scary.
On this podcast means you're in double probation.
double
probation.
Brandon, can you mute? Can you permanently mute people? I mean, do you have some sort of?
I can ban him from the channel so we can't hear him speak.
Are you guys? Okay. Is it like me saying Voldemort? I just can't say the word because I give it power.
I'll show you where he touched me.
I don't. No, because what we learned from Voldemort's name is he's actually like a giant piece of shit.
Yeah.
He couldn't even take over a high school, let alone be good at anything.
Right.
Like the dude literally lost to like 3 teens. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. I would be absolutely terrified if that happened, but I really hope.
I think it could be cool if they added like keywords to models, and then so they're not technically affiliations, but it said like, what if they just start coming out and they added like the Hydra keyword to Red Skull, Sin, Crossbones, Zemo, people like that. And then there was a tactics card that said Hydra models get X.
There
you could play Cabal and have an affiliation bonus, but there's like a Hydra-only tactic card.
There you go.
I could be okay with that. Okay. But at the point we are in the game, they'd have to retcon a bunch of stuff, and so we're past that point.
Actually,
so we're at like that would be like Mark II stuff.
I really like that idea. What they could do is they could just say they could just print a card and just have like the restriction. Yeah, the restriction. They just put the names on it, and then
it sounds like that's basically what they're doing with the Ash and Cinder card because it's like Sin or Crossbones.
Right. So that's actually there. You go. So maybe I'll get my Hydra card one day. That would make me happy. That's all I would need.
I could totally see them making a Hail Hydra card where it's like, the following 10 characters can do this.
Yeah.
And it could be cool because it could basically be like the Hydra Tactics thing, where it's like move within range 1 of where you're at currently or something.
Right.
And there's like, it could be like Avengers Assemble for all Hydra characters. Like, that could be cool.
Or you do like cut off one head, 2 more take its place kind of thing. You could do something like that. Like there's
that could be cool. Like if you have Sin and Red Skull and one was your leader and the other one dies, play it, the other one becomes your leader and you gain their affiliation bonus.
Yeah, something like that.
That could be really cool.
Yeah.
Dude, we're just firing golden bullets today.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
These are good stuff. Nagani, listen up.
Yeah.
I know you're listening.
There you go. So if
Someone email
anybody
this to
in
the
one
guy.
of those creative meetings has uttered the word theme forces, then
Kill them.
yes.
Even if their sentence was, "We should not do theme forces," still kill them because
Too much.
You should probably exercise their soul from the room as well. Go the full 10 miles, hang garlic on the
banishment.
door or something like that. Keep that juju out of there.
We'll put them in the wall.
None of that.
We'll shrink them down, put them in the wall.
Yeah, put them in the wall. Put them in the wall. None of that. None of that. But I do. A Hydra card sounds cool. I do like that idea. Give me a reason to see 80 Cabal members in the same faction, and 7 of them
All right.
are Hydra faction.
Parker, you got to come up with stakes for our bet by the end of the episode. Think about it.
I liked your idea of a shot. The shot sounded fine.
Do a shot for the bet? That's not a bet. That's like a drinking game.
Yeah.
There has to be something at stake here.
Oh. Why do I want to put something at stake?
One of us gets to drink one shot at a time we weren't currently planning on taking a shot. Like,
No.
That's not a bet.
I thought
Like, that's-
I thought we took a shot if we were wrong, and I thought that was the point.
I bet you one bottled water that... Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Okay,
One potato
at this,
boat.
I was so. I'm not
One
gonna lie.
cheeseburger.
I'm not gonna lie. I am so upset about the Avengers and Cabal list being so long that I totally forgot what we were originally arguing about, or were we theorizing? about?
Sinister being in
Oh,
Brotherhood.
Sinister being in Brotherhood.
Because you said you think he's going to be unaffiliated, and I know he's going to be in Brotherhood, so I want one of us to be proven wrong.
He'll be Brotherhood. Sorry.
Really? You think?
All right.
I think.
Parker,
Absolutely.
just think, since you clearly disagree, just think of the stakes throughout the episode, and right before we wrap, I'm going to make you tell me the stakes and the bet's on.
But the stakes, like, would be if I wanted to win something from you because I was right about this. I don't want to win anything. It will be one more thing that I will have a big question mark above my head. Like, why is Deadpool in the Avengers? I was just like, why is Sinister? It's just you just wanted him to.
You are so bad at betting. I don't even understand.
I don't bet at all ever. By the way, I do not participate.
No, but we're gonna bet.
I don't like it. It stresses me out. It stresses me out. You found it. It's a trigger
How about
for
this?
me. I don't like
I
it.
got it. If I'm wrong, I will paint your Mr. Sinister for you. And if I'm right, you have to get the rest of my terrain painted.
No, God no. No, God no.
Oh, Jesus.
Damn it.
No, God no.
I don't think he realized how much terrain I had.
Oh, I think I understood because I gave you all of
a
mine.
lot of it's already painted. All that stuff's already painted.
You're trying to sweeten this deal. I'm here to tell you, I am not that guy. I understand that there are those people that love to make bets and side bets, and like as soon as they see something that has a probability of them winning or losing, they immediately want to bet somebody on it. I've seen that in the movies. I know that's a real person.
You're the worst.
I am the opposite of that. If doing that is the best, then I am the worst. I'll take it.
Fine.
the worst.
Okay, look. Everyone just calm down. It's fine. Parker will just shave his head. Let's move on.
Yep. And if you won't shave your head, we'll both hold you down and have your head shaved.
Oh Jesus!
It'll be
But if
fine.
we have to hold you down, we're taking the eyebrows too.
Not
So you
taking
better
them.
think this through and
We're gonna
just
vanilla ice
let us
them.
shave your
You gotta have the
normal
vanilla
hair.
ice slashes. It'll be so awesome.
That's all we'll leave. There'll just be the
Yep.
little lines left. Everything else will be gone.
That was the news. That was.
All right.
So much news.
We're moving on. So I have one quick from the forums that some people may not know about. It has been clarified before, but it's on the it's actually on the forum now. Although this might be the second time it's been up there. The worthy mission with the hammers, the cursed hammers, where while you hold them, you have to pay one more to play Tactics cards, has been clarified that the additional one that you have to spend to play the cards does not count towards the total power spent to play the card. For example, if you're holding two worthy hammers, and you play patch up on an ally for 2, you have to spend 4 power and they heal 2 damage. Even though Patchup says for the amount of power spent to play this card, the extra power spent for the Worthy Hammers is not used to spend to play the card. It is used to pay the tax on the Worthy Hammers. So, for example, all according to plan, where if you spend 10 power on criminal characters to take the priority, you have to spend 1 above 10 per hammer on characters that paid. So if you had 5 criminals and 3 of them had hammers, you could spend 2 on everybody and then an additional 1 on those 3 characters. You could then play according to plan, and it would cost you 13 power.
That sounds really awesome.
Yeah. It is kind of counterintuitive because it says if 10 power was spent this way or on this card, you can do it. So it is kind of counterintuitive, but just so you guys know, that's how it works.
That sounds. It's counterintuitive to the writing, but it is logical with like the spirit of the hammer rule, right?
Yeah,
like that
because
that
it should
sense.
cost you extra. Yeah,
Right. You shouldn't be able to be like, hey, look at the wording of this card. Lets me cheat around the Worthy Hammer. Watch me cheat. And you're like, that seems cheating.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
I think step 1 is remember you have a hammer and remember that part of having the hammer.
Yeah.
Step 1.
Don't forget. Yeah, I'm gonna play patch up. You have 2 powers. Like, yeah, that's why I'm playing patch up. It's like you have a hammer. And you're like, fuck! Like, just scream.
Yeah.
Man, I would really like to use field dressing right here, but I have 3 hammers, so I'm not going to play field dressing. Instead, my friend is going to die.
You know what's funny is the fact that you can never, like, you would think you would be able to have a way to put a hammer down, but you can't.
Do
You want
do
me to
the
put
math.
the hammer down?
Do the math on Ultron holding 3 hammers. It's goodbye, Ultron.
Yeah.
You're gonna die.
Oh,
He's
so
like,
that's the solution. That's all you have to do.
But like, he's like staring at the hammers, like I can't let go. Like they won't leave my hands. All right, Parker. So everyone at home, we are going to keep chipping away at the tactics cards. Parker, why don't you start us up?
All right. Next tactics card is Acute Senses. Acute Senses. It says, unaffiliated, active. During a character's activation, it may spend 1 power. Enemies do not benefit from stealth, and this character ignores line of sight when attacking this activation.
Meh. I am not impressed. I can't even imagine this card making someone's 8 unless they don't own a lot of the cards.
Yeah, it's so blah, right? Like,
Well, also, there's cards like, doesn't Mark for Death just do this, but way better?
correct. And this
And it's only
just
for the
side note.
It's only for the 1 activation, so if you were to do like Cosmic Invigoration or all you've got, it doesn't work for both activations. It's just the 1.
Also, it has to be stealth from a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's other stealth, right? Like, does the criminal one actually give you stealth?
Oh, no, it doesn't. The criminal, this does not get through Shadow Organization.
Yeah.
It also doesn't get through Storm's ability. But if a card says you benefit from stealth, this is the same stealth. It gives you the stealth superpower. Because stealth is a superpower. Now, we might call Shadow Organization stealth, but it doesn't say gain stealth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not an all fix for stuff.
It is not. But those cards are designed to be that way. Like, Storm is not supposed to be seen through things that ignore stealth. I don't like the fact that they're printing things that are already immune to the counter. I think that's a really, dead-end writing position, but that's what they've done, so.
I'm very uninspired by this card.
I think it feels like Acute Senses is one of those cards that if this game had more, if all tactics cards were at a lower level, or if you're playing some sort of restricted format, then Acute Senses might make it in because it's a meta choice.
No.
But even then, it's
Mark for Death is in the same cycle, though. They're
Right.
both in the Spider-Man
Right.
legacy. It's completely garbage. You would never play this card over Mark for Death, and Mark for Death doesn't even get played. Mark for Death is 3 or 4 times the card this card is. I'm giving it a 2.
Well, the one thing is, Mark for Death does have a stipulation, right? You need 2 power, 1 on each character. They have to be within range 5, and you're only choosing 1 character. It does. It gives it. It does.
But with this card, specifically the character making the attack has to spend the power. With Mark for Death, that doesn't. It could be other
Right.
people.
That's true.
Also, think about the benefit of the card. A character not within 3 of somebody, but within 5 can attack them and ignore stealth.
Mm-hmm.
By spending a power and attack this card. When would that ever be worth it? You'd be
Right.
better off playing a tactics card that let you move, because it would have uses outside of this exact situation.
I think the only reason I could think this being worth it is if you had a bunch of range attacks that were really long range and had like control effects, so you could reach through a building or somebody and pull somebody away.
Yeah, the line of sight is definitely more important, but it's so easy to destroy terrain in this game. I just doesn't seem to have value.
Yeah.
I can't remember a time ever in a game I was like, well, acute senses would have fixed this problem. Like, it just never happens.
Yeah.
You probably have put yourself in a bad position if this is helping you, and I can't imagine that this is actually a good card. Jeremy, I gave it a 2.
It's a 2.
Yeah, it's 2.
All right. The 2s have it. Next up.
Advanced R&D. I feel like we're going to have contention on this one. Advanced R&D.
Yeah, this is going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
We're going to have to use an average.
Yeah. Advanced R&D. Unaffiliated active. This character may spend up to 5 power to play this card. Choose a number of other allied characters equal to the power spent. Each chosen character gains a power.
Jeremy, do you want to go first?
Sure. Man, this is a super, super powerful card. It allows you to do something that basically nothing else aside from Inhumans allow you to do, which is move power on turn 1 for making special moves, whether it's go up, pick something up, and then look at an objective, things like that. It's super powerful. I mean, this is one of the better cards in the game, tactics cards.
Okay. This is the worst card in the game. I
Wrong.
think anyone who plays this card is bad and should quit.
Cool.
But in all seriousness, I'm not a fan of this card. I respect that it has a lot of potential, and I know that the only reason people play it is for like really cheesy turn 1 plays where it's like, I need to get a power onto this guy so he can play this other card or use this other ability on turn 1. Stuff like, well, I need Angela to have 3 power so she can move up Hired Muscle and do this ability or something like that. Like, there's a lot of situations where it adds value. I just don't like that it's a gimmick. That's what I don't like about this card. Is it's specifically exploiting very specific situations, and it's just like, I don't know. That's just boring to me. When it's like when your game is on a script, it just like, what's the point? Like, I don't know. I respect that it has a lot of value. I personally dislike it a lot. I don't like that this is considered valuable in the game.
Yeah, it's one of those that, interesting. It is kind of a solitaire type card, right? It's very non-interactive. You're probably never going to find the value in it because later, on turn 3, you really need to move some power around to deal with your opponent's choices. Like, that's not how it's played. It's extremely proactive card. So if you have a proactive plan for it, it has insane value. Like Jeremy said, it might be the only way to get the value that you need. But I guess that makes it like one of the best cards in the game because it has, if you have a use for it. I will say one more thing though, is this is a very meh card unless you have a level of play like under your belt that this is what you need exactly. So you've played 40 games and you've played the same models 40 times and you realize, not 40 times, you play the same models 5 times and you realize like, oh man, if I had one more power, then I could make this exact thing work in exactly this way every time. My opponent could never stop me. So I'm going to do exactly this combination of models with this card. This is the enabler, right? It's the key card that makes a shtick work. And now that I have played enough games to beat all my friends locally, I'm going to make sure it happens every time with this card. And I'll make sure our Advanced R&D is the enabler for this.
It's a meta combo because there's a lot of times powers are priced at a certain point to prevent them from happening at certain points in the game. And so obviously this card breaks that restriction in a lot of situations. So that's where all of its value comes from.
Yeah,
but I don't think the intent of this card was for that to happen. I think it was like to have a support character like Shuri hand out power to your team and do something if they're like not getting to help.
Yeah, this might have been a better card to be suited with like the word Wakanda on it. Would have changed it entirely. I mean, there's no way that when designing this card. They were like, you know what would be great is if Hulk had 3 cubes on turn 1. That would be great. That makes a lot of sense. But because the ability to enable turn 1 moves, you can do that. It allows creativity, sure, but it does create like bad playing experiences, I feel, because it does do some gotcha moments where you're kind of like, oh shit.
Right. That's why I'm saying it's a meta combo. Like it's designed to specifically beat a select group of people or players, and I think a lot of those players are people that don't know that this is possible. Like it's like when we were doing Gamma Launch Thor, and it was just like, well, you didn't know this was a possible thing, so you're going to lose your first 3 games. Then you'll learn how to play against it, and you'll deploy or play in a way that prevents it from being catastrophic, and then it won't be a big deal. And so this is basically like buying wins by doing some cheesy combo. And so it's like, well, once they figure it out, it's either going to be completely busted because nothing beats it, or you'll eventually figure it out.
Yeah, I think that they just keep making models that, I mean, Enchantress is one now that it's really great for. There's several things that you can't do a lot about that it does enable. I don't know. The problem is, and again, it's such a great card, but I hardly ever take it, even though it's a great card. Like, it's just not, I'm not interested in that.
I think we're also seeing a lot more flexible affiliation bonuses and characters that, like, for example, the Inhumans affiliation basically negates the usefulness of this card. Avengers, for the most part, does the same thing. So there's just, I think it's going to be, and then obviously Asgardians just have more power, so it's not as big of a deal for them. So yeah, I think the usefulness of this card is going to actually go down over time. We also might see a similar version of it that is less all-in turn 1 combo.
Then the stock will go down if they end up restricting or banning Hired Muscle, which it's kind of, I would guess, my bet would be on it's going to get restricted or banned or whatever.
Hey, I would be surprised if Hired Muscle wasn't restricted, honestly. It's just too strong of a basically 0-cost card. Like, 1 power is not a legitimate value for that card.
That card should have Criminal Syndicate. I mean, we talked about it. That should have CS on it for sure. That would make sense.
If it was criminal only, or if it costs 2, it would be fine.
Yeah.
Because then you're not talking about it happening. And if you're blowing 2 tactics cards to get a objective, then it's like, all right, whatever. It's like, I'll just win the race at that point.
So, ratings. Advanced R&D.
4. I'm not kidding. I think it's a 4.
Yeah.
And part of that is probably part of that's probably my mind state of I play the same like 3 or 4 people over and over and over again, and I cannot imagine being afraid of one of them playing Advanced R&D. But if I saw one of you guys playing Advanced R&D versus a new player, I'd be like, yeah, that's probably not okay. Because it's about reps. If you're playing the same people over and over again, this card is not scary because you've seen the trick. Yeah. But if you go to a tournament and everyone's playing Advanced R&D, Hired Muscle, Web Warriors, and Wakandans, you have no chance. But once you figure out what they're doing, then you're just going to start playing the same game, and it won't be a big deal anymore. But the same thing with Cosmic Invigoration. If they're playing MODOK Cosmic Invigoration, you're going to lose all your games too, so it doesn't matter. Like, it's just a combo, and they just need to learn how to play against it. Like, we thought Hulk was good for like 6 months, and then we were like, oh wait, this guy's fucking trash because we just didn't know how to play against him.
I'm going to rate it at an 8. I think Advanced R&D it creates a spot where you win the game. I mean, that's really what you're trying to do. So I'd say an 8. Parker.
I was actually going to say a 6, and the reason why I was going to say 6 is because it already exists in various forms and possibilities now in factions. It's not the only way to get this effect. I would have given it an 8, but it's not the only way to get an effect, and I think that's the value of it, is it allows you to get the effect in a list that's not one of the ones that enables it anyway, if you have to have it. So
yeah, I think the point is comboing it with other abilities.
Yeah. So I think it's a 6 because it could be an 8 if this was the only way to do it in the game, but since it's not, I think it's a 6.
All right, so 6 it is. Way overrated. Should be a 4. You having fun eating your fucking ice over there?
I am. I'm going to start coughing. I'm trying.
Parker, what's next? Let's go.
All You Got It is an unaffiliated reactive card. When a character with a threat level of 6 or less would gain an activated token at the end of its activation, it may spend 4 power. They do not gain the activated token. Your turn does not end, and you must activate that character again. At the end of this character's second activation, if they are healthy, they are dazed. If they are injured, they are KO'd.
So now this is a card that I think is going to hold value for a while. This is basically what I consider what like good advanced R&D is. This obviously breaks the rules of the game in a very effective way. And just for anyone who doesn't know, because I know that some people haven't looked into it, threat level is increased by the cost of your gems, and so Thanos with stones cannot play this. Same thing with like Doctor Strange with the Time Stone can't use this. There's so many weird combos with this that you can do.
What's your favorite one? Because you played this against me a lot, Jeremy. When you play this, what are you aiming for? Like, what's your combo that you like?
I put this in my list because I know that Magneto exists. I know that Thanos exists. I know that any of those high point models, I'm going to remove you from the board with this card. I have a model, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to attack you 4 to 6 times in a row and take you off. This is the way you destroy She-Hulk. Or Hulk if he comes. This card right here will take any of those cards off the board. So it's kind of a get out of jail free card for me. I don't usually look at it for much more than that. It's a cool emergency red button that you push sometimes, and other times it's like, okay, I've got a huge expensive model, I'm getting ready to get out of here because they can't be here anymore, i.e. She-Hulk. That's why I use it.
That's interesting. I actually, when I looked at this, my first thought went to, I want this to, like, I want to have a usual plan of which character I'm planning on using. All you've got, a character is going to get a lot of value out of it. But you're thinking the opposite. You're looking at your opponent and saying, all you've got is going to answer this problem because it's going to allow me to get on that key moment when I have the advantage with whatever tricks I'm pulling. All you've got is going to give me plenty to go over the top on their big guy. Interesting.
Yeah, I think both of those strategies are completely valid with this card, which is why I think it's pretty good. Now, it's obviously not without its, restrictions and costs. Like, obviously, dazing or KOing your character has its own problems. It does not deal damage to your character, though. It just applies the daze token to them. So if you can manage to field dressing them later, they don't take any damage, which is pretty cool. 4 power sounds like a lot, but usually you're attacking, so it's really not. You just end up using your builder attack an extra time instead of using a spender. My favorite combo is doing Punisher with Doom Prophecy and this card, so you just get like an insane number of attacks with a bunch of dice. But yeah, it's because we all know like it's less about what you do and more about when you do it in this game. You have characters, and it's about activating the right character at the right time, using the right abilities. This is giving you a double activation exactly when you want it, which is really, really powerful. Like, if you're going to get dazed, if you're going to get, like, killed anyway, like, why not do extra to them? Like, if you've got somebody on life support, like, imagine injured Wolverine with 1 health left, right? He's swinging 9 dice strikes, and you play all you've got. Like, and he can do Berserker Barrage to place deeper, and he can do his charge. Like, this guy could kill, like, 3 or 4 people in 1 activation. And if he's going to die anyway, like, what's the problem? I think there's a lot of value in this card.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't have to have like a specific character to play it on, but I think you need some characters that are aggressive. Like, you obviously wouldn't play this in like a Web Warriors list, I don't think, but you could.
Yeah, you can get more value out of it if you're already planning on combos like you mentioned, like no matter the cost, like you're going to take damage on a character like Drax, so that you purposely get to do big attacks, and then your next attack is going to have extra dice because you're Drax or Wolverine. Mm-hmm. This is a really good way to get even more value out of that, because you're for sure then after your damage, because you've diminished your health pool and made it easier to be KO'd, well, just go ahead, I'm going to KO my character for you, so I'm sure to get an extra activation with all my advantages that I had. So that's the kind of combos I think of whenever I'm playing this card. If I'm playing this card, I'm usually playing something like another tactics card, like no matter the cost, or I'm playing a very specific character that's going to get a lot out of multiple activations. And that's what I usually think of when I'm doing this. Although Jeremy's plan of I know for a fact that I've always got one, at least one, hopefully 2 or 3 kind of offensive type characters in my list, and usually the stars only align for them on that one turn, right, where they've already done some damage to me. I've got like 3 or 4 power, and I've got one chance to really open up on their big guy, but it's not going to be enough. Like, I'm not going to win the game right there, but maybe this card lets me win the game right there. That's an interesting way to think about it.
Funny thing I was doing with my Troll Defenders list. So I had this in there when I was playing Hulk in Defenders, so it's basically Doctor Strange the Time Stone, Hulk, Wong, and like one other character like Valkyrie. So you basically just use Wong as a super power battery, and so he just meditates as much as he can in the back lines. Turn 2, you throw down the portal. Hulk goes through it and just punches twice, and then plays all you've got, punches 2 more times, ends his activation, gets dazed. Full health Hulk dazed. And then you have Wong later in the turn, after most of their people have gone, double move, go through the portal also, play field dressing, remove the daze token from Hulk. And so he's still full health, but they couldn't attack him for like the entire round. And so you basically just have a force field around Hulk as long as they can't get to Wong to stop it from happening. But Wong is 2 moves and a teleport away, and so he's actually very convoluted to go get to.
Yeah, that'd be pretty annoying.
Also, that's a weird logic to follow. You're like, you watch the Hulk double move into your
like,
back
well,
line.
you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're like, yep, I guess this didn't work out. And then later in the turn, he comes back to life, and you're like, oh, the problem is you have Hulk in your list. So you need that to work to make up for the massive deficit you have.
Yeah. I do like the idea that you got the portal. So your opponent would have to put it together. Like, okay, he's got field dressing, so he could do this. What has he got to do? Oh, he's got Wong. So if I spend my next 2 turns trying to kill Wong, I might stop this.
Unless they have a character that's very fast, because Hulk's base is obviously enormous, and so he places range 1 from the portal, and then has range 2 attacks from a large base. And so they would have to then move range 2 plus a large to get within range of the portal, and then place through it, and then just get 1 attack on Wong would be the best they can do. So they probably need a long mover to even have a shot at attacking Wong, and then, Doctor Strange can defend him with extra defensive dice. So he's rolling like 6 defensive dice, even though he's Wong. So he's probably not going to die, and then still get through the portal anyway.
Just a quick math in my head. That list, that module with Luke Cage and Iron Fist is only 19 points. That's not like a tariff. That's not a...
Yeah, the answer is you just don't play Hulk, because you just do Valkyrie instead,
yeah.
And it's better.
Yeah.
Like, she actually does more damage, because Hulk doesn't do anything.
That's true.
Yeah, or you could just do it with She-Hulk. Like, it would still work, because you still have plenty of defenders. That would actually be pretty good, because She-Hulk actually generates a lot of power, so she could actually do some good attacks. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's do some numbers. This is a weird card, so it's worth talking about. But I give this, I don't know, I want to say a 7, but I'm leaning more towards a 6. It is not always the best choice, but I don't think it's good enough to get on the restricted list. Unless a combo comes out that's just silly. This is pretty much why we think Dune Prophecy is on the restricted list. This and field dressing, basically. So I'm gonna go with a 6. But I think it's probably more like a 7.
I'm gonna say a 7. I feel pretty comfortable. I would lean more towards an 8, but
it feels really strong, but it feels like you got to put a lot into making this card work. But you really don't, because like Jeremy's example of, those turns when you leave Magneto on 2, what would you give to be able to finish him off? And the answer is literally anything, right? Mm-hmm. Because what he's going to do to make up for you leaving him alive is going to be so much worse than not playing this card. And so it's always a good choice. When it's a good choice, it is the best choice. And then when it's not, you just don't play it and you have it there in case.
So the best example for this is Valkyrie plus that equals all models in the game are dead. Like, almost guaranteed. And that's a 3-point model taking out basically any number. She can take out Thanos pretty easily. Like, it doesn't matter. It's so much dice. It creates builders. It creates
Killmonger
spenders.
as well.
Sure.
Because Killmonger is getting the extra damage more times. He's getting all kinds of good stuff.
Now, the reason it's not a 9 or a 10 is because aggression and just simply killing a model doesn't win the game, right? Like, it can help you, maybe, but...
I mean, it does get you closer to a win condition. If your opponent has no models, you win.
Absolutely. And if they're missing that big key piece, i.e. She-Hulk,
Yeah.
again, She-Hulk is the answer for me. Like, I don't want to see She-Hulk, and if I do see her, I will take that card and I will kill her. Like, that's my whole goal. Like, I don't want to see her.
Well, also, like, think of how many times you've gotten to MODOK. You're like, I know I'm not going to kill him. I'm going to leave him, like, half alive. It's like, what if you could just kill him? Just kill him. And then what happens when MODOK's not around? It's like, well, all of a sudden this got a lot easier.
Yeah. So I put he's a solid 7 for me. Let's go solid
Okay.
7.
All right, so we're averaging 7 then. Parker?
I actually was going to say an 8. And the reason why I say an 8 is I actually was thinking it was a 6 until Jeremy pointed out the fact that it's not just something you play with a combo character. I was thinking it was kind of staple to characters like Drax and Wolverine. And so if you're not playing Drax or Wolverine, the value goes down real low. But because, thinking about my experience in game of being able to, I need a grenade right now, but this character can't become a grenade right now. Well, that character, this turns it into a grenade. It's going to blow up, but it's also going to take your thing, and it's important. I think it's an 8.
Also, just do the math. Like, how easy would it be to put, like, Punisher or Black Widow in a list with Lockjaw, which is, we're talking about 6-point investment, and you just international bloodhound somebody and then play all you've got on Punisher, and you're like, how does 8 attacks with 4 dice that you have 1 less defense die for sound? And you're like, sounds like I'm going to die. You're like, cool, let's just do that. But if you die on the first 4, I don't need to play it. And you're like,
right.
Oh. And I can also guaranteed play it because I get 4 power from attacking you 4 times. And so I don't even have to worry about generating enough power to use it. It just happens. Yeah, it's very, very strong. So do we round up to an 8?
I'll shift to an 8. Do an 8.
All right, I'll go with 8. Yeah. I wanted to go 7. I was honestly worried that you guys were going to go like 5.
Oh, Lord, no. That's one of my favorite
next
cards.
Up, this card is so good. It's so all in. I partially love it because it is so all in, but then a lot of people hate it for that reason. Next up is Battle Lust.
It's a reactive card. At the end of a move action made during an allied character's activation, the moving character may spend power equal to its size to play this card. The next attack made by the moving character, this activation adds dice to the attack equal to its size. If the attack deals damage, after the attack is resolved, push the target character away short.
So, I'm just confirming that Adamantium Skeleton does not interact with this rule. Push. No, it does not. Okay. So Wolverine's still size 2 for playing it. The biggest thing for this is it works if you do a charge mechanics. Like if Zemo spends 2 to do his charge, he can play it as part of that charge move. Because it is still a move action during his turn. Which is pretty cool.
It's kind of cool that you have a push on a stick. Like it adds dice, but it also adds a push, which just a straight up push is always good. Like
this is probably the best unrestricted add dice card in the game. Now that's not saying a lot because a lot of them really bad. But I think this is easily the best of them that isn't like specifically to one character. Like Usurp the Throne is better and Uneasy Allies is better, but those two all require specific characters. Yeah, getting able to manipulate the board on command. It's not may as it is pushed.
Yes.
It is pushed. Okay, so you can't choose not to. It's still pretty good. It is based on size, which is cool.
I do like I like that at first you were like, oh man, so you might want to use smaller characters to make sure you get extra dice. You're like, yeah, but you use a larger character and then you're throwing a lot of dice at somebody. That's a size 3. Adding 3 dice for your 3 power is probably just fine, especially when you're also turning it into a push. I think 3 dice for 3 power, I don't think it's efficient enough, but turning it into a push is a great extra bit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of who really abuses it. People like Valkyrie are probably the best because you don't have to decide if you want to throw them. You can just spend the 2 to get 2 extra dice and push them automatically. So it's good for characters like Valkyrie who are probably going to spend the 2 power to move them away anyway.
I kind of like it with criminals. I mean, they don't have a great amount of characters that actually move you, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
And
they don't have a lot.
Kingpin's a 3, so he can put it on his big attack if he wants to. Like,
that's true.
I kind of like it on criminals.
The big problem, or not a big problem for criminals, the only problem I see for criminals, they don't have a lot of action economy, but that's kind of built into their kit. They're meant to walk at you and punch you instead of like charge in or place in. So, but since you're doing it anyway, yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
I do like that it for somebody like criminals that do a lot of walk and move in, the push is a really big deal because okay, I need to walk and hit you once. Well, if I walk and hit you once, it does nothing to the turn. But if I walk, hit you once, throw in a couple extra dice, and get a chance to really pop off on the dice, or I just push you off and that's it. That's all I need to do is walk and hit you once.
I'm just going to point out that this doesn't I think we're thinking about it like a melee card, and it's not. Like, MODOK could play this, and MODOK could roll a 10-die Mystic attack against you.
Just be like, boom.
You're like, boom! Like, brrr! Like, just giant laser beam. Because, like, later in the game, MODOK actually ends up moving a decent amount, because nobody's going to stand in front of him. And so he's like, all right, I'll walk up and blast that guy. It's like, well, I've got 10 power, so how about I spend 4, and then I can roll 10 dice and have 6 power left for rerolls. Just like laser beam somebody to death.
Yeah, this would be great on a character like Hawkeye too. Like he's always got power just hanging around. He just turns his attack.
Never moves though. He's never going to move.
Wait, doesn't a place count as a move?
No,
it
does.
A
move action. It specifically says move action.
Move action.
Okay.
That is not how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, or else Hulk would actually like it somewhat. Not really, because 4 power for 4 dice for him isn't great. I'm trying to think of a good way for aggressive to trigger on characters like She-Hulk and Sabretooth, but it really just doesn't. I think Wolverine, Valkyrie, MODOK, characters like that have either very easy ready access to lots of power, or I guess Thor wouldn't be terrible. He's only size 2, but he could basically spend 5 to do an 8-dice staggering attack that can throw. That's pretty good. And it would give him something to use his power on later in the game. Maybe I need to play this, because honestly I'm looking at it with Loki as well. Loki gets a shit ton of power, and he's constantly walking around, because he needs to stay in range of people. So if Loki just walked up, did I am a god, and rolled like 7 dice punch attacks that get blanks. And he ends up, because he was going to spend 2 to move you away anyway. Why not just push you as part of the attack?
Right.
Maybe. I mean, it wouldn't hurt my feelings to see that in my list. Like, I wouldn't be looking at it going, damn it, there's nothing I can do. There's probably another card I'd rather have, but yeah, this one doesn't hurt my feelings. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think
all right.
I think it's the definition of a number I'm thinking of right now. I want to hear what your number is.
It's a 5.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
5s have it.
Yep. It's a great definition of that. Okay. Next card, Blind Obsession. This is one of my favorites. Reactive card. At the start of the activation phase, any character may spend 3 power to play this card. Here we go. The character that played this card gains an obsession token. Choose an enemy character. While the character that played this card has that token, it adds 2 dice to its attack rolls when targeting the chosen character. When the character with the obsession token rolls defense dice, if the chosen character is the one attacking, add 2 dice to its defense roll. If it is not the chosen character attacking, remove 2 dice from the defense roll. The character that played this card loses the obsession token when that chosen character is KO'd. So with a horrible paragraph, basically, you get a token on you. You are now obsessed. You pick one other character. That is the obsession that you have. You always add 2 to an attack and 2 in defense when you're trading with that your obsession. However, all the other characters you're not obsessed with now, when they attack you, you remove 2 dice.
Yeah.
That's the way to look at it.
So this is one of the unique cards that lasts the entire game until it is fulfilled. It is in effect. Also, this card is awesome. Not because it's like particularly powerful or good or bad, but this is just like exactly what we want from tactics cards. We want things that change the way this game is played in fun and interesting ways. And this is a perfect example of that. So I think this is going to get a little bit personal bias from all 3 of us just because it's so cool. Yeah, this is a great card.
I purposely play this a little bit like All You've Got, which is it's in a lot of my rosters, because if I'm ever in a situation where I sent my 3-pointer or my 4-pointer on a flank up against MODOK, here's a blind obsession against MODOK, deal with this now. And what's happened to me in the past so far is that when I do that, blind obsession is basically giving me usually an offensive bonus, and my opponent usually doesn't bother, because once I go to 5 dice or 6 dice defense against their attacks, they start saying, you know what, I'm wasting my time. I'm actually going to lose the game because I'm going to waste activations trying to kill this thing that's obsessed with me. So I'm better off just taking a couple extra attack dice every round and committing somewhere else. And so that's the way I played it so far. I have actually not seen somebody so far when I've played Blind Obsession like go hard at me and be like, let's just try to overwhelm the obsession. I haven't seen that happen. Usually it's the opposite. They just they let me
well, because obviously you don't play it turn one because you can't even afford to.
Right.
So you wait until the board is kind of settled and the matchups have been determined. People have committed to locations. Because if you play the card then and they're like, oh, okay, even if they have priority, it's like their option is run the character away from you. And it's like, all right, I move up and attack you. And you're like, take a bunch of damage. Then what do they go? They go up and double move towards you with somebody else. Like, I guess if you could be dumb and play it on somebody that's very centrally positioned. But, I mean, most of the time, you're going to basically kill the guy before they ever have a chance to do anything about it. Because if you have priority and you play it and you're already engaged with the dude, you just kill him. And then next turn, he gets undazed, he flips, and then you actually kill him and the card goes away. I don't know. It's very strong if you leverage it in the right way. You want to leverage it where your opponent can't just swarm you, and try and get it in a way that still matters.
I think it's there's two things. I think it's very scenario dependent. If you get the ones where you split the board in half, I think it can be very, very powerful. And it's very, very good at the I need to finish this guy off. Splash for 3 power. I will throw 3 extra dice at you 2 times, and I'll probably murder you, and then the whole thing goes away. I think it's hilarious that if you do it earlier on a character or whatever, they can't shake it or anything. Like, it's just like on you. Like, that's pretty cool. I think it's a super cool card. I'm with you, Brandon, in the fact that
all right,
it's interesting.
So, Killmonger, Usurp the Throne, Blind Obsession, Dune Prophecy. What doesn't he kill?
Houses.
That's like
he kills houses.
I've done the math. I believe it is 24 attack dice.
Yeah.
Which means that if it was put on Medusa, it's like 1,000 attack dice. Like 1,000.
And what's funny about this card is you can use it to go over the top, kind of like or with all you've got, or you can use it as like an attrition card where you're just like, I'm going to make this game really miserable for you in this one-on-one for the rest of this game. Like you are not going to win this. You're slowly going to lose this, or I might blow you out because I'm rolling six or 7 die attacks. You know, I'm a ridiculously premium model for the rest of this game.
Yeah. Remember when we used to have like the D deployment where so there's 4 secures, 2 are on the flanks, 2 are in the middle but really far back. And so we would just send like one character to each flank. Like, all right, it's your job to hold this point till the end of time. But and we would throw like Spider-Man and Iron Man out there because they're really consistent. But how do you get rid of Spider-Man with Blind Obsession? He's rolling 5 defense dice with spider senses, and he's hitting you back with like 7 or 8 attack dice. And he can push you. It's like, you're never going to kill that guy. Like, you have to spend like a 6 or 7 point character in there to deal with him. Like, it's just like you play one tactics card to win a flank. Like, why would you play Battle Lust when you could play this? Like, this card is so good.
It's really good. I think we'll see this card a lot. I think people will play this card.
Yeah.
I will say this. If its value goes up if you like those kind of scenarios. If you like the wide across the board scenarios,
deployment delta.
Yeah, so I do like that. You're like, oh, I got like several deployment deltas in here. Let's make sure Blind Obsession here. I'm going to win a bunch of delta fights. Like it'll happen.
Cool.
7.
All right, so ratings. I was going to give this a 7.
Oh my God, 7.
The 7s have it.
7.
Because 8, we're starting to get into the realm of this card should probably be looked at for the restricted list, or is like meta defining. And then at a 9, this card probably should be on the restricted list, and then probably needs to be banned after that. If it's a 10 in this game, it should probably be banned.
Yep.
All right, next up, let's do a few more of these. I'm not going to get too far down.
Speaking of restricted, Brace for Impact. Reactive card. If one or more allies would suffer a collision, they may each spend 1 power to play this card. Characters that spend power do not suffer damage from this collision.
I do not like this card. This card should cost 2.
I absolutely love it.
If this card wasn't restricted, it would be awful for the game.
It would.
The fact that it is restricted, actually, I think, was the best move that we've made so far in the game. I would rather this card be restricted than Drop Off not be banned. Does that make sense? Drop Off is less damaging to the game than Unrestricted Brace. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Brace is more universal and ubiquitous, that's for sure. Like
it just deletes portions of the game. Like, why would you ever value a throw when every list forever will have Brace in it? Like, immediately anyone that has a throw is just like, yeah, never mind. Like it's just not even worth doing. Like it would just invalidate huge portions of the game.
Yeah, I think it feels right. The choice that I always make is the healing card versus Brace, and I always take Brace. I know you usually take a healing card. Whatever. It's choose your poison, and I think either is fine. I like Brace more because it feels better in my play style, the way I play. But
from a game preference standpoint, I have always hated things that counter your opponent's effects.
Mm-hmm.
They are less fun to use as the whole for both players. Like, who wants to be like, I can do this thing? You can't. Like, okay, well, why are we here? Like, I wanted to do this, and you say I can't. Like, it just is less fun for both people than both of us are going to do the thing we want to do as hard as we can. From a philosophy standpoint, I've always been that way. And this card, I think Brace needs to be in the game. Right. Exactly. Well, that's why I play Cabal. Like, that's exactly correct. Like, in Magic, I play red. I'm going to blow you up as fast as I can, and
come over here and let me stop
me is dumb, stupid bullshit that shouldn't be in the game.
Get over here and let me hit you.
Yeah. I play Khador, I play Russians, I play, like, every game I've played is the I do my thing real good faction. It's just fun to me. That being said, obviously, this card needs to exist, because throws would be too good without it, but if it was all the time, throws wouldn't be as good. So, I think this is a good well landing point. I'm going to rate this a 7 as well. Jeremy. Hit me with them digits.
I think I got to go a 9.
There's no way this card is a 9. All right. Well, if it wasn't restricted, I'd say it was 9.
As is. 9.
Parker.
I'm going to go a 7 because it doesn't actually always save you damage. Because it's possible for you to just dodge it, right? So, I mean,
that was my philosophy at first until, people start throwing size 4 shit at you. Like when we were initially rating this card, you could only really throw size 2 stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't that big of a deal. And then it was like Magneto and She-Hulk and stuff comes in the game. You're like, this is starting to hurt, guys. And then the truck pack gets released. Like, guys, there's actually size 4 terrain now.
You use it for when you need to use it, not because it feels like it feels good.
Hulk got thrown into my Captain America. All of a sudden, I'm about to lose 2 characters.
MODOK. If you have MODOK in your list, you need Brace because MODOK will come flying at you. Like, that's what it's for.
I'm gonna come up to an 8 and round us up to an 8.
Okay.
Because I think technically we should round to a 7, but I think I agree with your argument. Next,
climbing gear.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I remember the first time I read this card, I was like, holy shit, that's good.
And it's got one of my favorite characters on it, not in the game yet, Moon Knight.
I will break all of your fingers.
It's an active character. Active power. Any character may spend 3 to play this card. This character gains Wall Crawler until the end of the round. This character immediately advances short.
Probably the best movement card in the game, in my opinion. It is super flexible. The only downside is the character that wants to move has to spend the power. I love that it can happen not during that character's activation. Super good. Gaining Wall Crawler in addition to the free move is great. Like if, for example, someone has placed Hulk in melee range of you with Red Skull or somebody, you can move your character then out of range to force them to do something else. It's very good.
Once per game, this is always the answer. If you don't have it in your list, you say, shit, if I just had that. It is. Once per game, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, you look down and go, if I just had climbing gear, it's that good.
If only Black Dwarf had a repel gun, this would be better. All right. I don't know if there's really much more we can say about this. Anybody who's played tabletop games understands how important positioning is, and this is blatantly good positioning.
If you haven't played tabletop games, just imagine Avengers symbol, for anybody you want.
Yeah.
Like that's that good.
It's not Avengers restricted.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a little expensive, but yeah, out of activation movement is super good. I'm gonna go with an 8. This card is exactly like you said, Jeremy. Every single game of Marvel Crisis Protocol ever played, this card would have fixed a problem at some point that was important. And so it's important to realize that. And I think this is a card, much like Marked for Death, that gets overlooked way too often.
Also, it's priced right. I mean, I feel like you get what you pay
Seems
for.
fair.
It's not.
Exactly.
It's not too cheap. I'm gonna go an 8 as well. I mean, just throw it out there. It's good. 8's good.
Parker,
I never play it because I play other movement cards, but it's an 8.
so you're an idiot is what you're saying.
I just play other movement cards.
Just shave your head. Just shave it.
Yeah, just do it. If you don't have a wager by the end of the episode, I get to pick the wager, and it's going to be shaved headband.
Shaved head.
We're getting close. Parker, the time's ticking away.
You're gonna do it for the
Next.
school, for the students. It's for the
Yeah.
students.
You can put it on Facebook and act like you're a hero or something. I don't care.
I don't care.
I poured ice water on my head. Look how good of a person I am.
All right. So card number 1 is Disarm. I think it gets the award for characters you had to wait the longest for before they came out because it's like one of the very first cards of the game, and only one of the characters was in the box. When 2 allied characters are within range 3 of the same enemy character, the allied characters may spend 1 each to play this card. The enemy character rolls 2 fewer dice on all attacks this round, to a minimum of 1.
So this was actually played a lot in the TTS League, and I think it is because of cards like All You've Got and like super important characters like MODOK and Thanos. Like this is actually pretty impactful. I think people need to realize that this is actually crippling to a lot of characters.
Yep. You know what? It's in my list recently quite a bit, and every time I get close to being able to pull it off, for some reason I just can't, and it doesn't work out that way. It just takes being in a certain spot at a certain time, and you have to have the power. But with that said, a better player, it's an awesome card.
Yeah. I think it's mostly just a practice thing. Like, remember when, we first started playing, Cosmic Invigoration was basically impossible. It's like, you might as well just rip the card in half and throw it away because you'll never play it. Until, turns out, a year into the game, and you're like, no, any turn of the game I could have played Cosmic Invigoration because I know where to put my bottles now. Like, I know how to keep those ranges correct. So, Parker, I'm going to pop quiz you here. You ready? How many dice would you consider a premium basic attack to have? If you're like, this guy has a premium 0-cost attack, how many dice does it do?
6.
And if someone has a very poor basic attack, how many dice does it do?
That'd be 4, right?
4? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's like the basement, so 4.
Okay. So this takes Magneto down to long range. Like that's the level of impact we're talking about. Because I think a lot of people just say 2 dice. Oh, well, that's not that big of a deal. Like the attack cards add 2 dice. You have to remember, it's against a defense. You're trying to overcome a set value. And so you need to get bigger than it to have a high average of damage. If you have the same amount of dice, you're only doing like half of damage on average. So this is actually a pretty noticeable amount of damage reduction. And you might look at people like Magneto's like, well, he gets to reroll his dice, so it's actually not that good. Actually, it's better. Reducing the total pool is going to reduce his maximum number of hits, which means the rerolls are going to be less valuable than they normally would be because he's going to get a decent amount of hits and skulls anyway. The number of modifiable misses is going to go down when you reduce the dice, so rerolls become less effective. So I think this card is dramatically undervalued.
It's pretty huge. It's a great card.
Yeah.
And it's cheap.
I think it maybe at one time it was dramatically undervalued. I think people are figuring it out now in general, and I think it's because there are a lot of cards out there that could make one character's activation, king shit activation, and then you have to have a way to be able to neuter that and deal with that. With other cards, like All You've Got out there, you're like, well, shit, he's got All You've Got, he's got MODOK, he's got Thanos. How can I deal with that without my own All You've Got? I don't have my character to All You've Got. Well, just disarm.
Yeah.
So now do you want to spend your turn 4, this crucial turn 4, trying to eliminate 2 of my models with disarm? And you're like, no. So I guess we'll try to play on turn 5 when I've already won the victory because I have, I've already won on control points. So
Yeah.
it's really strong.
When this card was printed, there wasn't MODOK and Magneto and Thanos running around just one-shotting people, so it wasn't as important.
Yep.
And all you've got wasn't even a card yet.
Yep.
I think I'm going to give this a 7.
7 feels fine. I'll follow you.
That's fine, or you're okay? You're also doing 7, all right?
Yeah. I'm 7's good.
I thought you were rating my rating.
No.
Parker.
I actually think it's 6. You guys will overrule me, but I think the only reason why I think it's a 6 is because I think I value being proactive more, and the fact that this doesn't do anything it does disable them for one turn, but it doesn't necessarily win the game unless you get that. I think it's a little bit more conditional than you might give it credit for, but.
Yeah, but it's kind of like those scenes in the epic medieval battle movies when it's like the two armies are running across the field and they slam at each other. It's like, what if one army was had themselves sprayed in the face with like icky goo or something? It's like, well, that's gonna swing the tide of this battle really hard if it happens at exactly the right moment.
Well, that and
because
imagine
it's like turn. Go ahead.
Just imagine where your models are to be within range to do this. So if you have 2 models within 3 of MODOK, I mean, they're getting ready to die.
Yeah.
Or they can do that and be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
So obviously, big problem being priority, but yes.
Yeah, priority.
You have to make sure you get priority. So this would be the only reason this probably isn't even better is because you have to be able to go first. But yeah, because if we think about it, the actual up in the air turns is usually turns 2 and 3. That's really when the rubber meets the road and things are decided is turns 2 and 3. And then turns 4, 5, and 6 is just mostly trying to not make mistakes if you're in the lead or try to exploit mistakes if you're losing. So yeah, I mean, you are correct that this is only affecting a very small amount of the game, but I think if you manage to leverage it at the right moment, I think it is worth it. All right, let's do 2 more cards and we're going to call it.
All right. So, Doomed Prophecy. It's a reactive card. At the start of the activation phase, any allied character may spend 3 power to play this card. This character cannot roll defense dice against physical attacks. Additionally, this character adds dice to its physical attacks equal to its physical defense until the beginning of their next activation.
Very important that it says cannot roll physical defense dice because you can't have your dice reduced to less than 1. And so there are some characters that just wouldn't care. Also, you can't then also add dice back to it. Because if you were let's see, like Captain America, you could Vibranium Shield and then get the protective magic from Doctor Strange and have I could do this all day up, and you could actually still end up blocking a decent amount even though you've played this card.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it is a silly amount of extra dice compared to all other cards in the game.
I think the only trick is you have to time it correctly because it does have a cost to it, and you have to be able to do it at the top of your activation. And a lot of times, a lot of times you don't have the power to do it either when you want to do it. That's what I find. I'll have it, but I'm 1 power shy of being able to pull it off correctly. Again, it's a me issue.
I mean, this was the first All You've Got, right? Because this came out first.
Yeah.
Sure.
But All You Got is at the end. This one's at the beginning.
Yeah. No, yeah. So All You've Got is just a different take on the same concept. Is you're going to trade your life or survivability or health or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to trade some portion of my defense for more offense. And so this is actually changing the dice rolled. It's obviously more similar probably to Blind Obsession than it is to All You've Got, but there's kind of the same concept still. Is I'm going to do over and above to try and kill you, but I'm going to take a negative effect for it. Obviously, combining them is really cool, and so you get both.
I was going to say, Doom Prophecy does have another stipulation, whereas All You've Got, your opponent doesn't have to do anything. You're just, you get dazed or KO'd. Your opponent does nothing. Yeah. But Doom Prophecy still requires your opponent to interact with your character. Like you do have to. It costs your opponent's activations in order for them to take advantage of the fact that you debilitated your own character. So I think in terms of total tax, Doom Prophecy doesn't have nearly as much tax as just remove your character.
That's correct. Totally agree with you on that point, because this is basically just saying you get my defense dice for the round, as where All You've Got actually kills your character.
I think its actual tax lies in the fact that it's restricted. Like, it really taxes your cards you can take.
Yes, but that happened after the fact, obviously. But yeah,
True.
that's part of the thing you have to consider on it. Conveniently, field dressing fixes both problems.
Yeah.
Which is why field dressing's fucking dumb.
I'll actually say this also about Doom Prophecy. It's all about physical defense. So if you're just happen to be up against somebody who's rolling Mystic and that's just all they got,
True.
then you just be like, it's kind of like Obsession in that way. You're just like, hey, I'm on a flank with you, and ooh, looks like you do not have a physical attack. Let's go ahead and like.
Yeah, there's very few characters that don't have physical damage, though.
But sometimes
Enchantress.
yeah.
Enchantress?
Is she the only one who's just Mystic? Does Loki have a physical attack?
Loki has physical. I can't think of anyone else that can't do physical.
Some people have to pay for their physical, like Killmonger has to pay for his.
Sure, but I mean that just means you're gonna extra die.
Yeah.
They kind of want to kill you because if you're doomed, so.
Right.
I can't think of anybody else. Like MODOK does, all of the melee characters do, because even if they have like an energy basic, they have a physical other attack.
But MODOK
A lot of characters
uses...
can choose.
Yeah, MODOK.
Nope. Iron Man has homing rock. Homing rock is physical.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Captain Marvel? I think she has a physical.
She has a physical. Yeah, she has a physical strike. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I'm forgetting Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. I think he does not have a physical.
Doctor Strange. He does not. However, his affiliation is change the damage type.
Right.
But that he's not technically in Defenders all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's less than a handful of people that couldn't do physical.
Well, even if you had some situation where your opponent had more difficulty engaging you with the physical attack,
Right?
Like you were doing it from a long range away, and they did not have a physical up, at that range.
Right. Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do we want to rate this? Do we want to talk about more? Or are we ready for numbers? Numbers. I give this a 6. It's actually only useful on a select characters, as where all you've got is useful on everybody in almost every situation that you need to do more. This, you have to do it at the start of the activation phase. So you can't be like, oops, I didn't kill you. You have to plan this out in advance. Again, you have to have a physical attack that's good or worth using at least, and then you're trading your physical defense dice. So it depends. Like, obviously, you wouldn't want to do it on someone like Enchantress because they don't even have a physical attack. MODOK would be another terrible example because he would only get 2 extra dice, and it'd have to be on his spending attack. Yeah, so it's obviously more restrictive than all you've got, and I think just worse. Honestly, if we were talking about which one of these cards is better, I think it's pretty obvious all you've got is better, even with the negatives.
I think that there's a handful, maybe 3 models in the game that bring this card to like an 8, but most of the game, I believe it lands around a 5 or a 6. I would say probably a 5 because what it does is damage, and it also hurts the model doing it because they can be hurt back. And it really doesn't. It doesn't push. It doesn't throw things.
It's basically just different Blind Obsession. You're trying to get it in a situation where you're basically 1v1 and you have priority, right? Like that's basically the situation. But Blind Obsession gives you defense. This lowers your defense. So Blind Obsession is just better than this card so often. There are times, though, where Doom Prophecy is better. Like we talked about earlier, Punisher with Doom Prophecy is probably better because he's just going to do so much damage before you can kill him that it doesn't matter. Like he's doing 8 attacks if you do all you've got and Doom Prophecy, 8 attacks with 7 dice. Like it's just so many dice that he'll just kill people.
Yeah, there's a handful. Punisher, Medusa is one. There's several that can just go bananas off of it.
Yeah. It's just so niche that I don't think it's worth going up. So I think I said 6. Jeremy said 5. Parker, what's your number?
I'll actually also say 6 because you can actually you can play it and in a situation that you have almost no negatives, which is very similar to Blind Obsession, but Blind Obsession, like we just said, is better, noticeably better. So I think it's a 6.
6 it is. I think that this card should come off the restricted list. If this is going to be restricted, then All You've Got and Blind Obsession probably need to be on there too, then, honestly. Because I don't see how this card is any stronger than them.
All right. Speaking of strong cards,
Last card.
Drop off. Are we talking about drop off? I just realized. Are we
Yeah.
talking about drop off?
No, I intentionally did this one. They should be quick.
Okay.
So people that don't know what this card does probably don't need to know because it's banned.
Mm-hmm.
But it could eventually get unbanned.
Yep. So it's a reactive card. When an allied character with flight begins a move action within range 2 of another allied character equal or smaller base size, they can spend 1 each to play this card before moving the flyer. When the active flying character ends this move, place the allied character that was within range 2 within range 1 of it. The place character may immediately perform one of its attacks that it has listed power cost of 0.
So just so you know, Parker, I'm going to be playing Drop Off when War Machine comes out, just to do War Machine and Rocket.
Yeah.
Because I want to reenact the card. And no one can tell me I can't.
No, I can't tell you.
Okay, yeah, the reason this card was banned is because for 2 power, a long place and an extra attack is just way too valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing board positioning, it's amazing action economy, it's just too good. It got effectively reprinted in special delivery for A-Force, but I would actually like to see this card get unbanned eventually. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll happen. I think eventually we could see power creep to the point where this card isn't considered crazy, it's just restricted.
I would like to see it restricted. I think that would be nice.
Yeah, obviously I'm not saying open play, I'm just saying it should probably be downgraded from banned to restricted. Because you do have to like have a plan. This isn't just always broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually one of the things I was going to say about it is this card kind of reminds me of Advanced R&D a little bit because generally speaking, you're playing with this going, okay, usually it's not turn 1, it's turn 2. We're like, but on turn 2, I'm dropping off. Now, the drop-off target and how you'll use it will change from game to game based upon the scenario and your opponent. But you're like, on turn 2, these 2 characters are dropping off, so I get maximum value for my drop-off. And that's really... And for that reason, I don't really like it in games for the same reason I don't like Advanced R&D in games, which is it becomes kind of like solitaire. This one is more interactive than that because you're putting both characters closer to your opponent, likely, and in harm's way. You're usually not waiting until turn 4 to move characters out, because if one of them gets dazed or pushed or something, then you drop off completely falls flat. So since you're usually using it proactively, it's a little bit of solitaire, but at least you're usually using it to get closer to your opponent to enable something, to get a nice alpha strike, and I like alpha striking, so it's got positives and negatives for me in terms of like gameplay. And I know I can see why they banned it because playing against an alpha strike is negative. It's a negative play experience.
Yeah, I get that. There is a little bit of counterplay with this. If you've got longer range board manipulation, you can just split them up so they can't trigger drop off with their move. And so there are counterplays. Potentially you could take power off of one of them, I guess. That's really hard to do though. Yeah, I mean it's good, but it does force them to run around in pairs, and so they're committing 2 characters and a tactics card to fight one of your guys, like, I guess. It's obviously good though. I'm gonna give it a 9.
9 pizza rolls.
9 pizza rolls.
Yep.
Parker.
I'm going to give it 9 with a caveat of it could be a 10 with certain characters, but it's not with every character, so it's 9.
We heard a rumor that Cable was the reason Drop Off got banned, is because in playtesting Cable was too good. I can't imagine that to be true now that we've seen Cable.
I think I truly think that there was an iteration of Cable where his gun was a strength 6. And
yeah, that's probably true.
At that point, it probably was a little bit overpowered. But strength 5 gun shooting twice, who gives a shit?
Well, also his body slide by 1 might have been a movement, so it would have triggered drop off.
Yeah.
Wait.
Because then he.
The other problem with him is his card, right? That lets him move earlier in the game. Like one character moves out of the deployment zone.
I don't think that.
The X-Force card, right?
I know that card. I just don't think that would. If you're spending 2 tactics cards to get a couple attacks, like then Gamma Launch would be the same problem.
Right.
Like you just if you want infinite placement, let's just do the infinite placement thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, and they're probably talking about dropping off Cable, like what happens when Angela drops off Cable on turn 1, and he's like in the middle of the board shooting people like before you've gone. But it just doesn't if you want to do that, and then why is advanced R&D allowed? Like, if that's what we're talking about, then why is this a conversation? Like, That I don't see how drop off is it is very, very aggressively priced is the problem. It should cost 2 power each, not 1. That's the problem with drop off.
I mean, 2 power each or 1 power each is fine. Just take away the attack. I mean, 3 attacks from Cable is kind of a bitch. You probably are going to lose Valkyrie.
Well, but in that situation, it's 1 attack from Cable because you're dropping. He doesn't have flight. You're dropping him off.
Yeah.
So he's getting 1.
So he'll get 1,
and then you go.
You're not going to kill him. I mean, he's
but you can move out of range.
Mm-hmm.
You can play a healing card. You can move out of line of sight. Like there's counterplay. Like
it's not great.
Like,
I don't really care that much about it.
It's
great.
not the War Machine. Kara Sloan's going to put 9 shots into your deployment zone on turn 1. Where it's like, let's just go for the top of 1 assassinations. It's like that was a thing. It's like, did you not get a turn? I'm sorry you didn't get a turn in this miniatures game. Is that not normal? Like
it took a half hour to set up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've rated it. Drop-Off's really good. I want to see Drop-Off go to Restricted. I also want to see Field Dressing go to Restricted. I want to see Doom Prophecy be unrestricted.
Field Dressing is restricted.
I want to be extra restricted.
Oh. With an asterisk? Restricted.
Yeah. What if they're... I mean, they don't need to do this. This is just random spitballing. But like, what if there was 2 restricted lists? There was one you could get 2 cards off of. There's one you can only get 1 card off of. You put Drop Off and Field Dressing on the double restricted list, where they basically count as 2 slots or whatever. And then there's the one where you can have 2 cards off this list. And then if you want super convoluted, Netrunner had a really good like a point buy system where you had like 15 points to buy cards with, and you could, if you're taking cards out of your faction, you can only take 15 points worth of cards, and cards would have a point value of like 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, well, I want to take Drop Off. Will it cost you 5 of your 15? And then like Field Dressing's also 5 of 15. And you're like, oh well, I'm running out of options real quick. I do think we need to up the Tactus cards to 10. 8 is not enough.
It's very limiting for sure.
Yeah. It's not that it makes you make hard choices. It's that it gives you no choice. That's the problem. It's restrictive to the point of prohibiting you taking cards that are actually useful.
You have
in every list there are at least 10 cards that are like feel like must includes.
You have the needs and the wants. Needs are always in there, and your wants are like, well, I guess not today.
Yeah. It's like how many people have never played like Marked for Death or Recal or Climbing Gear. Like all these cards are like, this card should be in every list, but it's like you can't. I don't like that. It's not like, man, you're gonna have to make some tough choices. Like you're like in there with a cleaver and looking at 4 kids, like gotta make some choices. Like that's not this isn't a situation that people should be put in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Parker, let us listen to your stupid rant about dumb stuff, and then we can get out of here.
Cool, Comic Corner. Comic Corner today, I'm excited about. Sinister, we have some more information about him, and he's coming out. I'm going to share my favorite Mr. Sinister ever. It comes from a non-titled graphic novel site. You can get it collected, but it's Uncanny X-Men is the title. It's volume 4 in the graphic novel, but you can also get individual issues. They're Uncanny X-Men issues 15 to 20. It was actually Uncanny X-Men's title during the A versus X event where the Avengers fought the X-Men regarding the Phoenix Force. Talked about that earlier. Comic Corner. But the reason why I'm showcasing this one is it has by far my favorite take on the X-Men versus Mr. Sinister fight. It's absolutely amazing because Mr. Sinister basically he clones himself a million times and makes a miniature London underneath I think is Montana and
somewhere in the Northwest.
Yeah, somewhere in the Northwest. And the X-Men, powered up by the Phoenix Force, find out that he's there, and they're like, we're going to exterminate this problem once and for all. He's a blight on everyone. We just need to take him out. And Mr. Sinister, with pure science and logic, is ready for the overwhelming force of the Phoenix. And the fight is wonderful because he's a geneticist, and he basically goes full Rick from Rick and Morty, and he just weaponizes everything. He clones everyone and weaponizes everyone. At one point, he clones Gambit and weaponizes him so that he charges his own body, and he just throws hundreds of Gambit grenades at Phoenix Colossus, which is just like the concept. And he's like, why did you clone Gambit for this to work? You could have just like made grenades. He goes, yeah, but they're going to be really surprised by Gambit grenades, like because they know this guy, like it's going to be twisted and wonderful. And that's what happens. Like Colossus is like the size of a 20-story building, and all of a sudden Gambits pour out of a roof of a building onto his head. He's like, Gambit? And boom, 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 boom. They just start exploding in bloody explosions. And he's just, and that's the whole, that is the beginning of the fight. It gets so good. So if you've never had a comic book, featuring the modern Mr. Sinister, this comic introduced me to the modern Mr. Sinister, where he's not just Apocalypse, Diet Apocalypse, basically. It's really good, and the conclusion is super satisfying. So, Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, the A versus X crossover portion, and it features all the X-Men, actually, not just the Phoenix ones, but the other ones enter the fray as well. It's super duper good.
Cool. So this week you want them to read the comic?
Yep.
Right?
I think this
because last week you were like, "Don't read this." I was like, "What?"
Last week I said read it if you want more information about the Marvel Universe, but
don't read it if you enjoy things that are good.
It's not a great story. The poor thing. I just think it was poorly conceived. This one today, this story about Sinister, is just it's entertaining. Well, it's entertaining the same way Rick and Morty is. It's just like this is what would happen if you gave a super genius infinite, potential and just space to explore and set them up against the cosmic force. Like, that would be awesome. Yeah. Let's watch that. It's great.
Yeah. Alrighty, cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you had a good time. I hope you did not like listening to Parker ramble about his stupid comics. And
by the way, I have your bet. I have your bet.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. All right, what's our wager?
Okay, how about this? If I'm right and Sinister is unaffiliated... Oh, actually, let's make this bet.
Unaffiliated on release.
Sure.
How about that?
Yeah. I actually just don't think he's going to be in Brotherhood, because he could be in another faction. I just don't think he's going to be in Brotherhood. Can I make that bet? Or does he have to be unaffiliated?
Okay, so which affiliation do you think he's going to be in?
I think he's more likely to be in Cabal, because Cabal is just like the catch-all.
I think there is a chance he'll be in Cabal, but I think he'll be in Brotherhood if he's going to be in Cabal.
Okay, so what do you...
How about we have a push then? If he's only in Cabal, it's a push. Okay. And if he's in Brotherhood at all, I win. If he's not in Brotherhood or Cabal, you win. He might be in Marauders, but if they're going to make the Marauders faction, we're going to push that way.
Yeah.
So if he's unaffiliated on release, you win. And if he's in Brotherhood at all, I win. And if it's anything else, it's a push.
Okay. And my bet was going to be really simple.
Shaved head bet.
Loser buys the Sinister. So if you
I'm buying, either you or me are buying 2 Sinisters.
Yep.
That seems fair. I can live with that.
Okay.
All right. It's a bet. It's recorded on a live line. All right. Sorry. So let's just figure out what this is going to be. We'll probably actually know fairly soon. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
And thank you for listening to The Gang Goes to the Wall.
I'm podcasting. I want you to podcast as hard as you can.
I'll drive to your house and podcast real hard. All right. So exciting news, guys. I'm gonna announce this tomorrow, but on this next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday, I'm gonna be holding an event at the store for Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna run the Vibranium Heist narrative event.
We'll be like heisting the shit out of things.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm building a robot. Its name is Heistatron. We're going to deliver pizzas.
You son of a bitch! I'm in.
Forcibly deliver pizzas to planets.
Let's bug it. What is it, surveillance? He put down an enormous hidden camera.
Let's get out of here before they get wise. It's like the whole planet is on fire.
People are floating in like the fragments. That's good stuff. I just saw that the other day.
I need to rewatch the last season. There's a bunch of stuff I kind of forgot about.
You know what show I've started to watch, and it's really weird what's good about it, is Solar Opposites. Have you guys watched Solar Opposites?
Oh, I tried to watch that,
Okay.
and I couldn't.
Okay,
I just couldn't.
Here's the thing. So it is not Rick and Morty. It's totally
Yeah.
different.
I noticed that.
Don't watch it if you want Rick and Morty. However, I do recommend. It's almost worth watching the entire season 1 just for the 10 minutes about the wall, so that it sets up season 2. Brandon, I don't know. Did you ever see any of the parts where one of the main characters, one of the replicants, uses his shrinking gun to shrink people and then puts them into this giant terrarium he has in his wall?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That was the only good part about the show.
right. So in the first season, there's only 10 whole minutes of like story taking place in the wall. It's like a C story, right? It's not even an Airbeast.
Yeah.
And so, but in that like 10 minutes, they set up this intrigue about what's going on in there. And then in season 2, they make good on that intrigue. They have like some serious episodes about it. In fact, maybe in season 1, there's like one whole episode about the wall. But
I think there is,
yeah.
but everything outside of that was just so like bad Family Guy.
Okay.
Like it's not even good Family Guy; it's bad Family Guy. It's just like, why am I here?
Season 2, the wall story gets amazing. So I started watching the show, and then I watched the wall, and then I found out online you can actually watch just the wall. Like they just took the whole rest of the show
just cut
away.
everything else out.
Yeah, they just cut the whole show out and just left this part about the wall. And so I didn't even watch all of season 2. I just watched the wall part of season 2, and I'm blown away. I'm so excited for season 3 so I can watch somebody edit it for just the parts about the wall, because it's really good television. It's
For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's basically that Morty's Mind Blowers episode where they're stuck in that giant terrarium and they trick the humans to come in and save them, and they leave the humans there. It's basically that small scene in Rick and Morty, but the alien is a kid with a shrink ray, and he just keeps putting people in this little terrarium.
Yep.
Because like stuff happens, like he gets in trouble at school, so like he'll shrink his teacher and put his teacher in the terrarium.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Where's your teacher?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. It's fine." He just keeps hiding his problems by shrinking people and putting them in the terrarium.
It's amazingly well done, and I will actually say this: whoever is, I actually do not remember who's writing it. I know the creators Rick and Morty are behind it, but I do not know how much they're writing it. But the point is,
it's just the guy who does the voice of Rick. It's not Dan Harmon.
okay, so
it's just the Rick guy.
So
what this is? I know his name.
No, it's making me mad
Shit.
too.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up. I'm not going to try.
I never got to the wall episode. I've watched about half of it. And like Family Guy, there's some of it that makes me chuckle, but like watching it all in a row, a full episode is just a little much. I'm like, if I was bored, I could easily watch an episode, but I'm rarely bored enough to watch more than one in a row.
Yeah.
And I have other stuff to do anyway, so it's more like a waste of time.
Justin Roiland. That's it.
So
So they're doing a really good job, because the scenes from the wall, you do not know this, because it feels like such a C story. Like it feels like it doesn't matter, and then as it turns out, it really matters as this like completely separate important saga. And everything in those episodes matters very much. So, like, even though some of those clips are only like 30 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes long, like, every single thing in the background matters. Every character that you see matters, because they show up and are important to certain story points later in season 2. It's ridiculously detailed and a masterful bit of storytelling. And the season 2 story is super compelling. I root so hard for the wall characters, and I really could give a shit less about the aliens. And so that's one of the things. It's in terms of a storytelling choice to make like your side story going on literally the background. It's literally going on in the wall. Be like so much better than your main story. It's weird, and I think it's on purpose.
It's almost like someone was in charge of that, and they're like an underling at the show, and like they put him in charge of just this weird side plot, and so they're actually doing a good job, and everyone else with the show is failing. And it's just like that when you got that one person on the team doing their job really well, and everybody around them is just like on fire. It's like, God damn it, guys, come on. But
I actually
anyway, Solar Opposites
Go
is basically Third Rock from the Sun meets Family Guy.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good analogy. What my secret hope is that slowly over time, no matter I don't know how long
It
they're
just
going to be
becomes the
syndicated.
wall.
Yes, slowly over time, the aliens like fade away into literally the background, and the show flips. In the one episode that features the wall primarily, there is an alien plot about them fighting a bear. They get a bear in their house, and that happens literally in the background of the wall. So like every scene that something really dramatic is happening in the wall, in the other side of the terrarium, you see like the next stage of the bear debacle. So what I hope for is eventually that's it. Like the show is just, it's called, Solar Opposites, but every episode is just what's going on in the wall. That's what I really hope. I think that would be that would be amazing.
Would be the first time they've done that with a TV show.
Yeah.
Because like, what was it? The Clone Wars TV show that after like the first season, they realized that their average watching audience was about 10 years older than they were writing for.
Yeah.
So they just moved the plot to a different place. Like, let's just follow different points.
Yeah.
And then there was Naruto. Naruto was basically writing itself into a fucking black hole. Mm-hmm. They're like, wait, most people watch the show are like 31. Maybe we should write like for 31-year-olds and not for 10-year-olds. And then they just changed it to a new show and they started over. It's like, remember the last 400 episodes we made? Yeah, we're just going to retcon that out.
Yep.
Parker, you were saying that Dota was a good show, right?
Dota Dragon's Blood?
Dota. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It sucked me in pretty fast as once I got past that initial introduction.
Yeah, I was trying to watch it. I think I made it one episode, and I was like, is this worth it? Like, I wasn't sure what was going on.
That's, like I said, it's like Neuromancer. It just drops you in hard, and you just have to kind of hold on by your fingernails. And like I said last podcast, that's the kind of show I like. I like a show that like explains fucking nothing. Just be in it, deal with it. No exposition, just go. But yeah, you got to be okay with that to watch that show for sure. Maybe did you play Dota at all, like the video game?
Nope.
I think maybe people who have played the video game, they assume a certain amount of people are already familiar with the lore from the game, but I can tell you this. I will say this. By episode like 3, I was comfortable. Like I could tell who was who and what was what, and by episode, the only thing that was confusing is by episode like 6, I knew who the gods were, because they talk about the gods a lot, because the gods are characters in the show. Like they are living things. And so at first I was really confused, because I was like, wait a minute, is the goddess who's one of the characters of the show? I was like, is this goddess, is she an actual person? Is she this goddess of the moon, or is she actually just the moon, just like a personification of the moon?
Yeah. And
I was like, oh, there's actually 2 gods, and they just have similar names, because you find out later that there's a reason why they have similar names, and why one's a personification and one's an actual goddess. But it took me a second. Like it was a while, but I was like, because they just assume you know all that. They just drop you and they just use their names. They just talk about them like you should know it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching Invincible, and I've been pretty excited about maybe finding another animated show like that, like an adult style show, and I haven't found one yet. Like someone recommended, what was it, Full Metal Alchemist, and I was kind of watching that for a minute. I don't know, that one just kind of.
I don't know if Full Metal Alchemist is the right one. Well, first off, there's 2. There's Brotherhood and the normal one. The Brotherhood is definitely the one you should watch.
That's what I read up, and that's what it said.
Yeah. It's kind of like Naruto with that. There's the regular one was more for kids, and then the later one was more for adults.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I found
said
it
you
yet.
should watch Attack on Titan. Have you?
I haven't watched
Attack
that
on
yet.
Titan?
You like that one?
It's way more of an anime than obviously Invincible is, and honestly, even more so than what's it called? One Punch Man is really, because One Punch Man is more of a cartoon, I would say, even though it is an anime. It's definitely written as more of a very fast-paced, like intense thing. Animes are usually a lot more drawn out.
Go ahead.
I guess the next time I was going to ask you is if you had watched Attack on Titan yet. Parker, did you watch Invincible? You said you were going to.
Yes, I didn't find time to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I did find time to watch all of Invincible. And I actually have to say, that show was weird for me because, man, I was, after episode 1, the end of episode 1, no spoilers, it sucked me in really hard. I thought about the end of episode 1 for a whole day, because I got to watch the first episode and then I had to go do something else. And so that was a horrible way to do it, by the way. Yeah. So as soon as that thing happened at the end of episode 1, I was like, why? Oh my God, I got to go somewhere else. I got to go be with my kids. And so the next time I watched it, I watched like 3 episodes in a row, and then the last couple the next time. But the point is, after that moment, that super high point where I was totally sucked in, I was very actually let down by the rest of the season. I was waiting for another one of those moments. I expected the show kind of to run like a Quentin Tarantino movie, where it's a lot of like simple people doing simple things, very casual, moment of high tension, and then just huge amounts of violence out of nowhere and releasing that tension. And
did you not watch the most recent episode, or the one before that even?
I
think it's episode 6 was the one that had excessive violence in it. Are you not caught up?
There is excessive violence in them. Yeah, I've seen them all.
Okay.
There is excessive violence in them, but I was expecting to be surprised by it, and I wasn't very surprised by it. I guess the point is this. Like, one of the things about Tarantino is oftentimes it's startling. The violence is purposely startling. And it was purposely startling in that first episode, right? You were very startled by the violence in that first episode. And then after that, I felt like it was I have been able to predict where and how it's going to happen. The only thing that has been the reason why I'm going to keep watching it, I am excited about season 2, is season 1 does a really good job of setting up a lot of intrigue in more than one character. Episode 1 is like, ooh, there's a lot of intrigue with this one character, and then every single episode, every single character gets serious plot arcs that have a lot of intrigue with them, and I like that a lot. I love that they're establishing a huge pantheon of characters, and all of them have valuable plot arcs. I think that's really cool, and I think it's also. I think it's supposed to be. I think it's ironic how much Invincible gets the shit beat out of him. I think that's on purpose. But Invincible gets the shit beat out of him constantly.
Yeah. I love the bad guys in Invincible, because there's the fucking the returning aliens from the other dimension.
Yeah, those
that
are great.
Just keep coming back. That's a great alien idea. Like, that's a great antagonist, because it's just like, what do you do? Like, they're gonna fucking keep coming back, and it's just gonna keep getting worse.
Yeah,
it's so good. The Martians was fun. The bad guy, because that's obviously coming back pretty soon.
Yeah,
right?
that's
a problem.
Yeah. I was very interested. I was expecting a Monster of the Week kind of show, right? Monster of the Week, X-Files, a la X-Files, a la Inuyasha. Like, there's one bad guy, then another bad guy, then another bad guy, then another bad guy, and the whole time there's one longer bad guy who's going to show up at the very end. Who's got the real big bad guy, but it's not that at all. It's every single episode is, let's establish a problem, Invincible or his friends solve it, and then there is always an extra problem at the end of the episode. Yeah, there's always an extra problem, and
but
sometimes
even
a compelling one.
Anything that even looks like a throwaway anything, like everything has already been retouched at least once, basically.
Yes.
So it's like, it's very clear they're not just throwing away plot points.
Yeah. I was so yeah, the one thing about the show that disappointed me is I wanted to feel that kind of intense surprise at the incredible violence that the first episode gave me, but I wasn't surprised any other time with the violence. But I have been surprised with the character arcs and the number and the complexity of them. You can't Invincible is not for anybody with long-term memory loss. You cannot forget any fucking thing that happens in that show, because it all comes back.
You got to meet Battle Beast.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. And here's the other bit. Because I'm so programmed for Monster of the Week characters. Battle Beast is like a perfect example of a Monster of the Week character, right? He shows up, he beats some people up, he gets beaten up at the end. But he's not. I guarantee that he's going to be a super important villain for season 3, episode 4. Like, and all of a sudden he'll just show back up and be a big deal again. That's one of the things that's interesting about this series is the way they treat their characters. All of them are valuable, and also all of them are mortal. I think it's very interesting how this show treats its characters, because I'm so used to guys going away into prison, so that's it. That's the last time we see them. It's season 1 of Batman, so we'll see all the bad guys at least once.
Yeah. But
So-
it's like DC regurgitates villains because they don't have any new ideas, and they're regurgitating villains because there's depth. Like immediately, like even the Bash Brothers guys, the guy
Yeah.
that keeps cloning himself, like we've already learned more about him than Killer Croc ever, basically. Like,
Yeah, but-
like come on.
He's actually a really good example. He shows up
Yeah.
in the very first episode as a throwaway villain in the prologue. He's not even in the main story.
Yeah.
He's a prologue villain. And so you go, okay, prologue villain's done. They were just there to, show us how this world operates in a very
They wanted
in
to
an
introduce
action-packed
the
way.
Guardians and Omni-Man, and that the only reason they
Right.
were there is to cause a problem.
Right. And you're
Oh,
like,
wait.
actually, nope. They're a central plot line, and they are characters with their own arcs and their own motivations, and they're going to interact with other subplots for the rest of this season 1. And you're like, what? Really? You're like, yep. And be careful, because every single character in the background is going to show up at some point, and it's going to be important. You're like, oh, man.
Sorry, Jeremy, we're probably running over you. Did you want to say anything?
I love the aliens. I think it's hilarious that they just keep coming back. I mean, you're absolutely right. You're like, okay, dealt with the aliens, and then you're like, all finished. And then the fucking next episode, they're like, we're back, motherfucker.
And they're like, wait a second. I thought we dealt with you guys.
Yeah. It's good.
Um,
it's good. I love that
And
show.
they're literally just the Tau. They're literally
Yep.
just Tau, which is what I love about them. Like, they're exactly the Tau. They use energy weapons. They have the same dumb faces. What was I gonna say? But I like the like power scale difference between Mark and his dad, because his dad is like Superman, right? But he's like has the same powers. But there's like anyone who's ever had like a kid from high school that thinks he's hot shit, and he's like, no, he has like grown man strength. Like, you have like early muscles. Like, you're strong, but like that guy's gonna punch you and it's gonna fucking hurt. Like, he's been doing this for a long time.
He was throwing a
So that's-
baseball
that's-
around the earth and catching it. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing about that, though, is I will not be surprised if at some point in the show there is a completely legitimate, even sci-fi reason why he's stronger. Like maybe the fact that he's half human or something makes there a difference. Like that's the thing about this show is take nothing. Nothing is sacred. At any moment they could help you understand that there was something you had no idea about. It's very compelling. It's very compelling. My favorite character is actually Adam Eve. I think Adam Eve is an awesome character because she actually.
Character.
The reason why I love her character is she actually does something that is very kind of like no shit, which is she's a superhero who can rearrange things at the atomic level. So she goes, I'm going to, go solve real problems like world hunger. Why am I wasting my time fighting robots from other planets when I can rearrange atoms? I could like solve serious problems with people. Like, superheroes say ostensibly that they, I help people, I save the world, and it's like, but I don't save shit. yes, I will. I could save the planet from these aliens, but these people don't have food, so what am I really saving them from? So I think her motivation and like her conclusion she comes to, I'm really excited to see, because that's near the end of this season. I'm really excited to see how that picks up in other seasons. Like what happens to that goal. Because that she's going to get burned at some point. That's how this show works. So I'm interested to see how that goal like plays out. How does she get to realize that?
Did you like the demon detective?
I love the demon detective and the show's great because there really isn't any rules or bounds. He's like, I destroyed the thing, and he's like, he just holds it up. It's all taped back together.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It's like, we used an AI algorithm to recreate the missing pages. And you're like, what? Like, you assholes.
Like, there's no rules. It's just like whatever it takes to move forward.
It's Star Trek. Just do something to the replicator to fix our problem. Like, that's literally how it works.
I love that character, by the way. A lot of the stuff he does is a little transparent, but he's a cool character. The Nick Fury type character, the guy who runs the covert ops organization. I can't remember his name. In the show.
It's not Eugene. Cecil?
That's it, Cecil Stedman. Yeah. He is. I really like his character because his the whole plans within plans thing. He's like a combination of Nick Fury and Batman. Like there's nothing is sacred. Make sure there's a plan for everything.
I think you mean he's a combination of Nick Fury and the Vanisher.
He does teleport a bunch.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's start talking about Crisis Protocol.
What is our main goal tonight?
have to, I guess.
I never asked.
We're just gonna keep chipping away at tactics cards until we get some actual like new stuff.
Okay, shit. Okay, tactics cards. Which one are we on then? Just on the list? Are we just on? Gonna do the regular ones,
just
acute census?
Keep going down the list.
Okay, just put it on my tab. Put it on my tab.
We were so far behind on these. I kind of want to get them like knocked out a bit in that way because there's going to be a bunch of new ones soon because we got like 11 new boxes coming out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You ready for that, Jeremy?
Whatever. I've been there before.
Why do you?
Yeah.
Why do you? Oh, it's just because you don't like painting everything in big waves like that.
No, I fucking took a break and played golf and like ignored this game for like 6 months, and then all of a sudden I bought everything all at once, and it was just a giant wad. It was like the most.
It's like a month of painting.
It was so many. There was 22 models. It was a lot.
Yeah. Let's see. So we're gonna have Sinister, the Twins, X-Force, Sin and Viper, 9. Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Carnage, Mysterio.
I think June is going to be a bomb.
Well, I think that's when the rest of Spider people are going to come out. So I guess those might. So yeah, we're probably looking at 11 models in May, and those 11 models will probably be in 6 boxes.
Yikes.
Is Cable one of them?
Yeah, the X-Force are the ones that got delayed. We're going to get the bad guys, so the Brotherhood/Cabal models. Those are already on the docket. And then we're pretty much after that. We've seen Luke Cage and Iron Fist for a while now. So I think they're going to be pretty soon. And I think June's going to be the other Spider-Man people, the last of the Avengers. And then that's probably it. Because we'll probably get Kraven, Lizard, Black Cat, Spider-Man, Mysterio, Carnage. That will be a wave. And then we might get the last 2 Defenders, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, at the same time. Is Black Cat ever part of the Defenders? Am I misremembering that?
Not that I know of.
She's like a Marvel Knight, though, right? Like she's in that like genre. No, like Daredevil in them.
No, I don't think I can't think of a time when she's interacted with them. Although I'm sure it's crossed over at least some point.
So they just all hang out in the same city, and they're not technically crossovers.
Well, actually, Black Cat is international. Like she wanders into New York City and then interacts with Peter Parker. She actually spends a lot of her time going to other places.
Yeah, sure, okay.
She does. She has like she really does. In all the fictions, he's like, "What are you doing back in town?" Because she doesn't stay in one spot because she's an international thief.
That's just explaining why she's not in every comic.
Yes. But that explains your question about like Marvel Knights. Like all the Marvel Knights, like the Fantastic Four, Daredevil, Spider-Man, they all live in New York City. That's why they're Marvel Knights. Luke Cage, Iron Fist, they're Marvel Knights. Mark Spector, the Moon Knight. Little Star Wars fun fact for you before we begin. When in the famous scene between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in the Bespin cryo chamber, when Vader says Obi-Wan has taught you well, Luke is actually standing above him on a platform.
Mm-hmm.
So he has the high ground. Mm-hmm. I do not know if that was ever intentional, but happy mistake. I like that a lot when I saw that.
You've seen the meme where it's like, it's over, I have the high ground. He's like, so Luke says down to Vader, he's like, it's over. He's like, don't you say it. He's like, I have the high ground. He's like, you little shit. And he throws the lightsaber at him.
That scene is so, it sticks out so hard because of how awkward that line is. It's such a weird thing to say out loud.
Which line?
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. It's so, it's such a weird, you estimate.
It was like such a cop out. It's like, how is it over? Well, what's an advantage you can have in a fight? The high ground. And he writes the high ground on the paper. You're like, ugh. Like someone that actually has like put thought into like actual battles. Just like leans forward and groans in the background. He's like, you okay? Yeah, I had bad chicken salad. Just don't say no to Luke or to George. Sorry.
You underestimate my power.
Is it a coincidence that George Lucas made the main character of his space opera named Luke? You think that's a coincidence?
Yeah, not even a little.
Not even a little bit. Middle name George. Luke George Skywalker.
Shoot dang. Excuse me.
Okay. Now I have to pee. I'll be right back. Sorry. I don't want to have to pee for the entire episode.
I've had 2 sick kids all week.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. Yup. Sunday night, Monday, and also Tuesday. I finally got him to school. I finally got him to school today. It's like, holy shit. And now I've got a little bit of a cough. I'm like, okay, that's great. It's fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually at the bus stop. One of my kids was sick. The other one was doing fine. I get to the bus stop. The other kid, the bus starts to pull up to get him on the bus, and he just throws up right in front.
Oh.
I'm like, motherfucker. I just waved the bus on. I'm like, just go.
Yeah.
We're going back home. It's horrible.
Yeah. That's actually one of the only. I would never wish for this again this year, ever, in any way. However, one of the perks, I don't want to say a benefit because that puts it into a realm of I would rather have it over something else. But one of the perks has been that I have not had the wheel of sickness run through my house since, because that's what I had. Last year we had a wheel of sickness. Every single person was sick in our house at all times from October to March. There was one person in our house that was sick or something. Oh, it was awful. But this year, Regina got a sniffle for like 2 days, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And I know why. It's because her preschool gives a shit about spreading of viruses, so they're not letting kids share fucking eye drops or chapstick or whatever the fuck they let kids do.
Yeah.
I mean, little kids, they're worst at it, right? You turn your back and
they shove the same like gold block down their throat.
Yeah.
Like,
They immediately start sucking on the same like spaghetti and get closer and closer and closer. And they realize they both made a mistake and somehow regurgitated out, and one kid eats the rest. Like, that's how awful it is.
No, the problem isn't that they're both chewing on the same thing. It's that they chew on the same thing in turn every day for months. It's like, what's this? This is the plastic carrot I've been chewing on for a week.
Yeah,
and he's been chewing on for a week, and he's been chewing on for a week. Like,
right.
Oh,
they'll totally eat ABC gum, right? Like, totally. So and so basically the difference is this year, even though Regina is going to school, like, I know for a fact that the Focusworth daycare, which is a great daycare, I love their daycare. They are being extra vigilant all the time, constantly, making sure it's now become a part of their routine, right? Like they're focused on it in a way that they weren't before. And I mean, we weren't before. And this is actually one of the things I hope happens as a result of this whole nonsense is every organization that should have given a shit about communicable diseases, it's just a part of the ethos, right? It's not even going to be something like, even if coronavirus is no longer the thing on our backs all the time, people will now, I'm not saying the kids necessarily because they'll always be idiots, but the people that are running it might take a second look at the thing they were about to let the kid do and realize, you know what, that's probably a dumb idea. I didn't do that during coronavirus because it spread diseases. I probably shouldn't do it now.
So you're telling me I'll never see another doorknob licking contest?
Yeah.
That's like, basically what they do.
It's not like this is the first disease that's been on the outbreak. Like, Ebola was a thing too. And there was like probably 2 months where everybody was like, oh man, better watch out for Ebola. And then they're back to licking them door handles in random parking lots.
I think there will definitely be a time frame for that. But my kids, I'm hoping that they are 18 and out of my goddamn house by the time that time frame is up. I will say this. It's really anybody who makes the case that Ebola or SARS or avian or any of those other diseases that have come around are anything like the cultural imprint that coronavirus is going to put on people is obviously false, right? There's no way to now it's an imprint, right? Just like the surface of the moon, it'll be there for a little while, but eventually it's going to fade away. It just takes time. Eventually, it will erode. So I can guarantee you. By the time I die, no one's going to give a shit about viruses, crossing my fingers and my toes, because the coronavirus was the one that everybody cared about, and that was the once-in-a-generation one like that. But
I don't know. I think like 2 years from now, nobody will give a shit.
I don't think it happens that fast. Because when you
I think you have way too much faith in people.
No, I think it's because people remember traumatic events too hard. Like, I think there are people who remember viscerally polio, right? And for those people who remember that in their living rooms and in their schools, I think the coronavirus rang really hard for them. My dad was one of those people. He talked immediately when all this stuff started happening. He's like, this is a very similar thing happened with polio. We had to adjust everything we did for polio. And people just kind of forgot about it. He's just like, over time, because polio became such a non-issue, we eventually just kind of forgot all those habits. And he said now everyone will get a new set of habits from this, and then slowly over time, those will fade too. That's his idea. But I tend to agree with that.
I know so little about polio. Like, you could tell me basically anything about polio, and I would just be forced to agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. Was polio contractable from people?
Yeah.
Like, could you get it from somebody? I thought it was like cancer, where it's just like it just happens.
No. It was.
Okay.
The polio was a communicable disease. And
I had no idea.
Yeah. And it killed people and crippled other people. It's transmitted through contaminated water and food or contact. Like, you could touch somebody with polio and get it. And my dad told me about when he was going to high school, people, like, you know how like right now we have kids in quarantine constantly for COVID-19. He's like, people were constantly in quarantine for polio in his high school. Like, there wasn't a person in his, like, there was never a week that went by that there was somebody he knew in his small rural high school in Louisiana who was being quarantined for polio exposure. And now everybody got the disease, but they were exposed to it.
Yeah.
So
it's like you were in a room with Jim, so you got to spend a week in like private study.
Right. So he's like, it happened. He's like, it was constant. He's like, people forget about that because, polio was, it was vaccinated out of the population. Herd immunity has not completely eliminated it, but there's fewer than 1,000 cases per year in the United States. That's insanely small. So it just slowly faded out of the zeitgeist. And by the time, our generation came along, we had no concept of it whatsoever. But that's his prediction for coronavirus, is that anybody who's currently living through it is going to have an indelible cultural imprint for a while, and then people will adjust back to creating a new, non looking over our shoulder at virulent diseases. However, in the meantime, folks like Jeremy and I, who have little germ catchers walking around catching germs all the time, will benefit from people giving a shit about communicable diseases for a little bit.
I just don't think it's going to be that long. I don't think it'll be long at all. I think there are going to be some people that are like forever changed by the situation, but I think those people are pretty rare.
Oh, I don't think forever is even part of the conversation. I think it's going to be like organizations that are supposed to guarantee safety, like hospitals and schools. Those are the organizations that are going to have these kind of things longer than any others, but eventually they'll also fade away. Because it's more difficult. It's harder to watch kids, all the time and make sure they don't spit on each other. It's hard to do that.
It also costs a ton of money. It's a ton of money. It's so many
Right.
extra people. It's so many extra materials. Like, the second they can ditch it, I mean, people will. But
Right.
I think it'll be a while. It'll be a very long while. I think it's terrible that my kids know what it is and like have to wear masks to school. Like, I never had to do anything like that.
Mhm.
It's just crazy that my kids will have a memory of doing that. It's just so weird.
I think it's gonna be like a gas station bathroom. They're gonna intend to have someone clean it every 3 hours, and then it'll turn into 6 hours, and then 12 hours, and then once a week, and then why would I clean the bathroom?
It's a toilet. People go to the toilet in there.
Yeah, it's already dirty. It's just gonna get dirty again. Like, it's just gonna become that in like a year.
I wonder about think about the kids. I wonder about that sometimes. I wore leg braces every single day to school for first, second, and third grade, dealing with my bone disease.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, it wasn't a shared experience because I was the only one who had to do it, and that's different than every single person wearing masks. It's a different kind of experience.
Sure.
But I, as a kid, I remember not really giving a shit. Like when adults are more like affected by my story than I think I ever was as a child. When I tell somebody like I had to wear giant pieces of metal, when I woke up in the morning, I put pieces of metal on my legs that separated my hips apart, and I took every single step of the entire day with those braces on, and the only time I took them off was when I got back into bed, or I had to go to the bathroom because it was difficult in some toilets to do that. If I could possibly take a crap without taking them off, I did because of how particularly difficult it was to take them off. So, but like that's, but when I tell that story, adults go like, "Oh man, how harrowing!" But when I was a kid, I was like, "That was just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday."
It's
like
just more shit.
Yeah.
Like if you're a kid, you're like
Yeah.
every week as a kid, there's just new shit that you learn you're gonna have to deal with
Yeah.
forever. And it's just
Like
like,
Division.
damn it, I have to brush my teeth now.
Oh, God damn it.
I have to wipe my own ass now.
Ugh,
It's just they just keep piling it on.
what the fuck
And
are these
so,
things on my
like,
shoes? This isn't
You have to
Velcro at
staple
all.
these wooden stakes to your legs and walk around like Vampire Hunter, and you're like, all right, I guess this is what we're doing now. Like,
Yeah.
like kids don't know.
Yeah.
They have no frame of reference. They have no what is normal. They're constantly being evolved.
That's true.
My only understanding is you had the leg braces, and now you can run really far and a lot faster than anyone else. That's my full understanding,
He can.
and I know
can
it
also-
must be true.
He can also play ping pong real good.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think those are related.
with my pink. With my
I
pink
thought we were
pong
talking about Forrest Gump.
Oh, we are, but that one doesn't
okay.
mean the other. He was obviously
I think it
very
does.
good at ping pong. I don't know.
Can you grow a full homeless man beard while running though?
Oh my god. A wizard
Parker,
beard.
I am a little bit upset with you though.
Mhm.
You never told me you had bonitis. And I
Bonitis.
could have caught that shit. I could have caught that shit from you, and you never told me.
It's quite not polio. It's quite not polio.
No, it's bonitis. It's going to make you crinkle up into a little pile.
Oh my god. he
And
turned
and
into
you're
a
going to
blob.
whisper out as you're dying, my only regret was bonitis. Nick. Do you not remember Futurama?
Yeah, I remember bonitis.
Okay.
I'm laughing at my only regret is bonitis.
I was so busy taking over everything 80s style, I forgot to get my bonitis cured. What? Like you froze yourself? So until the cure for your fatal disease was found, you get out of cryo sleep. First thing you do, forget you have the deadly disease. Like what?
It's really good stuff.
All right, let's get started. That was long enough of a preamble. They're gonna have to listen to the after credits for this one.
Oh no. So meta.
Yeah.
Wow.
So speaking of meta, did I send you that video? I think I did.
Yeah,
the
you
video
sent
of
it. I saw it.
Supernatural episode.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh, Jeremy. Not Jeremy. Sorry. Brandon. Holy
Yes,
shit.
I'm Brandon.
The drive-through window. I was pissing my pants. That was so funny. You sent me the bank
I
drive-through
don't even
window.
remember.
I'd like to make a deposit.
Yeah. Here, let me. I'll post the meme.
Yeah.
in the Discord.
I'm not gonna
gonna-
say a thing. Jeremy, take a look at this meme.
Oh, I think I just sent it to you. I'm gonna have to copy it again. Hold on. There we go. This is a good one. Save, you stupid thing. All right, here it comes, and then I'll describe it after you read it. I just don't want to spoil it for you.
Mhm.
All right. What the hell is that? I don't understand what that means.
Okay.
We'll reenact it. Parker, you be the guy in the car.
Okay. So I pull up to the bank drive-through window. I'd like to make a deposit.
And then as the bank teller go, "Hey buddy, I remember you."
Frantically pouring marinara sauce directly into the vacuum tube.
God damn it, it's him again.
Okay, so the reason why you got me really good is you have a tendency to send me kind of like deranged scenarios. Usually,
Deranged?
They're usually like punny, right? They're usually
Yeah.
like kind of punny. is the point. They're kind of like womp womp is the way it works. So the first line when I read it, pulling up to a drive-through window, I'd like her to make a deposit. So I'm expecting there to be like an Italian.
Yeah, it's
pun.
gonna be like a grammar or like an Italian language barrier joke.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be something really like kitschy like that, and then when the bank teller immediately breaks the joke, going like, "Hey!" Hey! It's just like immediately the joke stops, and it's actually just somebody who's vandalizing the vacuum.
I just imagine a guy pulling up in like a go-kart dressed as Luigi, and he just got like a gas can full of marinara sauce, and he just starts dumping it into the vacuum tubes. The guy's like, God damn it, they're gonna make me clean this up again.
Because also it's a bank teller, like they can't possibly get outside to stop you. Yeah, they're not gonna.
This happen.
They're not going to run all the way around the building, so they're just right next to you, unable to stop you.
Jeremy, could I defy you to find a more perfect crime?
Okay. I do see the humor in it now.
There's no way they can catch you. But they're just watching you through bulletproof glass, and you're just like.
And I was in my kitchen when I read it, and as soon as I was surrounded by my family, it was dinner time, and as soon as I read it, I immediately I smiled like at first because like, okay, this is going to be a funny like joke about Italian language or something.
And then you pictured it in your head.
And then immediately,
way more funny.
When the joke stopped and it was just about somebody vandalizing the bank, I cried. I was laughing so hard. I showed Sarah. I was like, Sarah, read this as if you're expecting just a regular meme. And she goes, okay. And she reads it. And she gets, you could see as soon as she got to the part, like, hey! She just broke too. And we were just like, that is so wonderful. That is so, you expected something, that it was such a great setup to everything you see on the internet. And then all of a sudden, instantly changed to something else. Oh, so good.
Did you like the Exodia picture?
Yeah, the Exodia one was good, right? That was good.
I asked for the strongest coffee they had. He gave me 5 lattes with the Exodia art on it.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I didn't expect the lattes to be this strong.
Right. So like that's the kind of joke you expect on the internet, right? Like you expect that kind of joke. I expected a Mario Kart joke or something, and then man, when it's just somebody pouring marinara sauce into it.
I just love to imagine anyone cackling in an Italian voice while pouring marinara sauce down a bank tube. It's just like, how did we come to this?
He said, "I like to make a deposit." like that's what he thinks the bank is for.
But also, having thought of this, are we 100% sure that's never happened? In the history of the world, you're telling me that's never happened.
Oh, I love the word frantically also, because he knows he's not. They don't want him to. He's trying.
There's no way that wouldn't make the news.
I know, right? Like Florida man.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Oh boy.
Oh, even today. I'm just crying. I have tears. Oh. That is such a wonderful. That's one of the best things I've ever seen on the internet, and I know it gets me because of how this is all we communicate with on the internet is this. Oh, it's so good. Oh, by the way, the Mac Evolution lesson, I have watched that twice, and both times I get so mad about it. I get so mad.
You're like, there are people in the world having this exact argument.
Oh, I know. It's really funny.
That's why
in the
it's
same
so
way
good,
that,
because if you know or are white trash enough, you've had this happen to you when it comes up on the show, and it's amazing. It's like, yeah, I know the guy who is exactly like this.
I love Charlie's face as he gives the argument. He's like, him look like a bitch. Slap, and then Charlie goes.
He's like, I don't want to look like a bitch.
Charlie immediately like he looks immediately very startled, like oh.
Galileo was a bitch.
He's
oh
like,
God.
Oh, while you're up there, go ahead and move mine.
Yeah.
And you're like, you guys really don't believe in evolution anymore? He's like, yeah, I create a reasonable doubt. Like he's like trying to make like a courtroom argument as to why he doesn't believe in evolution.
Just everything about that scene makes me mad because of what it means. But it's very well done. It's very well done. But oh man, not as well done as the bank deposit. Oh.
Parker, I don't know if you were here for the conversation. I don't know if it was on the podcast or not. We were talking about the episode of Supernatural that was like super, super meta. And I don't think you were here for that. I think this is a conversation we had at the store. Does that sound familiar at all?
I know about the show Supernatural, but I don't even know if I've seen
no,
the
but
whole
I'm
episode.
talking about a specific episode. Me and Jeremy spoke about
No.
at one point.
No, I
don't
no.
think you were in.
I was not part of that conversation.
So in the show Supernatural, obviously there's the two brothers, and they're basically hunters from the game Hunter the Reckoning. They hunt supernatural monsters, and they're just humans, but they it's a heroic story, so they obviously get through a lot of ridiculous situations. Well, at one point in the show, they meet a demon, and the demon is like a frenemy, and so they kind of work with her on a regular basis. Her name is Ruby, and anyway, she's still a bad guy, but it's one of the bad guy I know. Like, I know what she wants, so I don't trust her, but I know how to not get screwed over. And so in the show, Sam, spoilers. Also, in the pre-ramble, there's going to be spoilers as well, so don't listen to this if you don't want spoilers. Although this is like 10 years old at this point.
Yeah.
So Sam ends up having a relationship with the demon. And in the show, the demons are like clouds of evil, and then they possess human bodies. And so anyway, she possesses this girl, and so he ends up having a relationship with this girl. And Dean finds out, who's like the more butch of the two brothers, and he's always like being ridiculous all the time. And so he's like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, you have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. You have to break this off. And eventually they end up killing Ruby because she screws them over because she's a demon. That's what's supposed to happen. And then in a later season, they go to they get like Dream World pulled into the real world, because in the TV show, there's a book series called the Supernatural book series that is about them, and the novels are about things they've done in their lives. And they're like, what the fuck? How is there a book series about us? We've never told anybody things we do. And so it's very meta because there's a fan cult following of the book series. And so people know everything about them that they've never met. And they're like, this is fucking weird. But it's like some like witch or something's getting visions about them. And that's the author of the book. And so she writes the books based on the visions. Anyway, though, in another episode, they get pulled into our reality, where they are now playing, or they get pulled out of reality, and they have taken over the bodies of the actors that play them on the show.
Oh,
and
geez.
so Jensen and Jared are the name of the two actors that play Dean and Sam. And so in the episode, they are playing themselves. And so are all the other people on the show their actors are playing themselves on that episode. And so Misha, who plays Castiel and Angel on the show, is like this super awkward geek guy that's like an actor. And he's always getting pranked by the Jared and Jensen guys. But anyway, they have to figure out a way to get back, but there's no like hunters or demons or anything in this world, so like I don't know how to get back. Like everything is fucked up and normal, and it's just so funny because in real life, Jared married the actress that played Ruby on the show, and on the show she played a demon that he has an affair with. But in real life, they're married, and they got married after the show, and so. They go to his house like, dude, you're like a hipster douchebag. Like, you wear all these fucking preppy clothes because they wear like flannel shirts and stuff. And so they're making fun of the way they dress in real life as themselves, playing their characters, playing themselves. And it's just the whole episode is gold because there's all this shit happening. And his wife comes home, the actress that plays Ruby, and immediately it's like, oh fuck, Ruby's here. We have to kill her again. And he's like, oh, and then they have to go through this whole scene where Dean doesn't like her, so they're playing that they have this rift between them in real life. So they're acting out all these weird like feuds between the humans that they're playing as the characters. It's very funny.
That's awesome.
But yeah, eventually they get back, and then he gets ridiculed for that. And then you have the secondary meta where they were at like Comic-Con explaining how he had to explain to his wife that he has to have an argument with her on the show as themselves being played by the characters on the show that they are playing. And it's just like, yeah, not only did I have to kill her on screen, like we had to have a scene where I stabbed her to death, which is already a whole can of worms you have to explain to your wife. But then also we have to have a fight about it later on, years later, as the characters again. It's quite enjoyable. So stuff like that is the reason I enjoy Supernatural. The day-to-day episodes are just kind of meh, but every once in a while they'll hit some serious gold.